And I think there's a point where an idea wants to come to fruition or it doesn't. And if you force it, uh, you end up with something that, in my mind, is just not going to be so good.
It's time for Gavin's Doodle.
Hey everybody, welcome to Gavin Doodle. My brain shut down for a second. It's a Thursday afternoon. It's 2 o'clock here on the East Coast. We're going to be having a guest come in from across the pond, I believe they say. Let me just get my feet up here going. And so, a couple things before I introduce the guest and let them in. I will be posting this up on YouTube later. Everything's underneath Studiohoffmann as well. Right now I have mentorships going on, which if you look at, I believe the first first post in my feed, there we go. We'll let you know what the options are, pricing and all that kind of stuff. But I just wrapped up one today. Really have fun doing that and meeting people and sort of talking art and business and life and whatnot. And then I also am sort of getting, I went to the gym this morning. Yeah, I'm working out now. Cool, right? And my shoulders are sore, so I have to like relax them a little. So today, our guest that we are going to be having on is a name that has been around for a while and carries quite a bit of esteem, not only in this household, but outside of it. A lovely, lovely man by the name of Ed Vere, who did Max the Brave, and of course becomes a New York Times bestselling author and illustrator. And then one of the more recent ones here, The Artist, which is really, really lovely. I was just going back through it recently and sort of speaks about the idea of being an artist and sort of told through the lens of a little dinosaur, but really sort of interesting color. And I'm just so like appreciative of Ed's line work and the expressiveness that comes out of all the work in general. Like even in something as simple as the Max books, the silhouette is so important in it. And so that idea of like letting some of the sketchiness and the looseness pop up, like looking at something like this, where we have the little figures down at the bottom that are so, hopefully that's not blurry, so loose and sort of expressive in their line work is so great. So I'm going to let Ed in and we will start the day. Give it 1 second. Hey!
Hey,
Long time no see.
really be with you. Thanks for the invite. And yeah, looking for, I have no idea, Mark, what I'm going to draw, what I'm going to say. So
I mean that's the fun of it. I mean, as long as you're not saying things that are too wild or too crazy. Don't
crazy.
Yeah. Some opinions, not too many opinions, let's put that. But thank you for joining us today. Like I said, we are fans. I say we, meaning my wife and son and I. We all participate in reading kid-lit stuff all the time. And so we are big fans of yours, and we are very appreciative of you sort of taking the time. I know it's later there, right? You're in, where are you? Remind me.
I'm in the UK. I'm in England, and I'm in a small. I'm in a county called East Sussex, which is just near the sea, south of London.
Okay. I knew it was UK. I just didn't know where in there that you were.
Yeah.
But it's what? It's like, I'm gonna guess 7 or 8.
Not too late.
Okay.
Not too late.
Okay, good.
It's not wildly past my bedtime yet.
When I was talking to another artist the other day, he was saying that he was eating dinner at 4 o'clock or like 4:30, and I was asking him if he was like 80 years old at this point. I'm like, that's a really early dinner.
That
And
is
then,
a really early dinner.
yeah.
Yeah.
So today we're
Where,
gonna,
when I grew up, everyone had their tea at about 5:30.
yeah.
So dinner was called tea, and yeah,
Is
but yeah, I
okay.
find
So tell me this. I know that tea is such an important like thing of British culture or the UK or the etc. Is um is it like the whole country sort of shuts down for tea at a certain point, like a siesta?
hold on. So when I say tea in the north, tea means your dinner. So,
Oh, okay.
so you're playing on your bikes, and then someone's mum's bellowing, "James, just in!" And they're right, I've got to go in for my tea. It's like, oh, fucking, excuse
You
me.
can swear, it's okay.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway,
Okay,
yeah.
so it
So
means
up
more than
north,
drink.
tea,
Yeah,
as you know it, but probably not with scones and all that sort of stuff.
yeah,
Just a traditional strong cup of tea, or having your tea is eating, is dinner.
yeah,
And about sort of that's normally about 5:30, 6 o'clock. When I grew up in a lead mining village, so that would be when people are coming out of the pit, and they want, they want a meal and then off to the pub kind of thing.
yeah. It's. I mean, I know it's like America essentially came from a lot of sort of European cultures built on that in sort of historical context, but it's interesting how dynamic of a difference there is in that sort of like the the tradition aspect that we sort of got rid of. We're like hamburgers and hot dogs, and that's good enough for us. But like the
For us,
yeah
we've absorbed everything you got rid of. We got rid of it too, pretty
yeah
much. But anyway,
okay.
yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So today we'll draw and we'll make, and we'll talk and sort of go from there. But as usual, I want to be respectful of your time. So at any point you need to depart, don't hesitate. Don't worry about
I'm gonna
offending me.
comfort break. Is that what
Yeah.
the problem is?
And then my wife always has these questions, or has no, my wife doesn't. I have the questions on behalf of my wife. She documents sort of what people say a little bit throughout. And one of the things we need to track down is sort of what materials you have on hand, because I know you have a bunch of stuff. Can you give us a couple little samples of like some of the more core items that you
Yeah,
work with?
yeah, sure. Yeah, I absolutely can. And maybe this would be, well, that would be a good time. So I'm going to step away, not a comfort break, but to get some ink and a pen and all that
Yeah.
sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll do some. I'll show you a range of stuff that I work with. So what I tend to do is I've worked differently on every book, and I really love to try and set myself a new challenge to work in a slightly different way every time I do a book, unless it's a series like Max, and then I work in a sort of fairly
Consistent. Yeah.
But otherwise, yeah, I do quite like to change things up to keep me interested and keep me developing and make everything a challenge. And if I look back at my very earliest board, so I did board books before my first picture book,
Yeah.
And there I was really obsessed with a clean line. So I've always been obsessed with line in one way or another, and it's basically I guess it's sort of how you deliver a line, how you animate a line, how you maybe sometimes I was a real fan of a lot of Dutch stuff like used Schwartz. I don't know if you know Raw Comics that were around in the 90s in New York, which were Art Spiegelman,
Oh yeah.
Francois and all that through. I was really into comics when I was younger, and those sort of avant-garde comics. And there was a brilliant artist called Joost Schwart, who's
Okay.
Dutch, and
I'll have
he
to
was
trust you.
following the sort of Hergé, the Tintin creators. So beautiful, clean line stuff, and I loved that. But I wasn't doing that, but I was somewhat influenced by that and various other people. But I was doing board books, so it was very, very simple. But I was obsessed with getting this line clean, and this is back in the days when I sort of this is pre me using Photoshop, really.
Okay.
So I would draw. I'd use marker pens, and then go to the local newsagent that had a photocopier, and copy all my drawings, and then Tipex all what I considered the sort of splurges and errors and all of that, just to make it sort of clean and flat.
Yeah.
Now I'm the absolute opposite. I love a line that dances and sings and has life in it. And so it's interesting. I've always been interested in the simplicity of, because it really is the simplest form of art, isn't it? Like drawing a picture in the sand or something. It's a line, and how you can make that line represent something, have something two-dimensional can. Like, I'm always fascinated by how, like, an inky little flat drawing becomes a character who is alive
Yeah.
for you as the creator,
Is there?
and for the audience, and for kids. And they might love that character, and all of that sort of stuff. It's such a sort of weird, fantastical alchemy, I find.
One of the things I stress to students and to mentees and things of the sort is, like, there's so many things, so many different aspects of artwork that people gloss over. Like, there's always people having their favorite color. That's easy enough. But, like, your favorite line is such a thing that people don't think about, but we all have it. We all have something that's our variable. And even with the line that, shows up in the books that you have, is there a specific pen or brush or ink that you use that to get the sort of, like, I like the term dance. You mentioned the idea of, like, the line dancing, but is there a material that you use that helps that?
Well, there are some. So there are a couple of artists I would mention who I think are like masters of line, and so I studied fine art.
Okay.
And drew a lot from life, and I still do, and I love that, and I love the same thing I just said about line as applied to drawing from life, whether it's a landscape or a drawing or something like that. So I loved, and I still love, Egon, Schiele, David Hockney, people like that, just consummate drafts people.
Yeah.
Who really knew, and when you see a Schiele drawing up close, and you can see how he sort of powered through his lines, the confidence, they're incredible. They're just that really is exciting for me to see a line like that, and it's astonishing. And then in the book world, someone like Quentin Blake, who really does have an obvious person to mention, but obvious for a reason, because he's a stone cold genius. So yeah, I don't know if I don't think when you're drawing, or when I'm drawing, I never consciously try and bring anyone to mind, but all of that looking at other people sits in your head, doesn't it? I guess, and
apparently, like, feeds into whatever you're making, whether you want it to or not.
Weird gumbo that's going on in my head, and it all stews up, and sometimes your line comes out like this and sometimes like that. So sometimes I use a brush pen, which sorry, I've got a light behind me, and I smashed my screen the other day, and I got a really cheap screen replacement, and it seems to have messed up my forward facing camera. When I over, it'll be less like I've got some stockings over the lens.
You got a halo behind you. You're Yeah, you're holy all of a sudden. Yeah. What is it? What is that? Is that a?
This is a sort of dip
Oh yeah,
pen,
yeah. Okay.
pot of ink, and it's actually a pen that is called a ruling pen. Um, so with this pen, you rule all others, or possibly no, it's something that architects would use back in the day.
Yeah.
They drew up by hand. So there's a dial here, and you rotate it, and these two prongs, or tines, or whatever you call them, will get squeezed closer together or further apart, and so that determines how thick. So I always have it at about the same sort of fairly tight together, but it's beautiful. I love drawing with it, and you can use it. You can use it sort of more on the point or more on the side. So I've done a lot of books with this pen,
I
and it's irreplaceable. A friend whose uncle was an architect
yeah.
and had retired many years since, and had a whole bunch of architectural stuff. And he just said, "Oh look, my uncle's getting rid of all of this crap. Do you want any of it?" And I looked through, and there are a few pens like this and all that sort of stuff. And this one just sort of levitated into my hand and said, "You will draw with me." So, and I have never found another version of this. I
Yeah.
have
Well,
many
it's
many
like
others
an antique at
I
this point.
but none of them will deliver the same thing, remotely the same thing. So I'm terrified of it leaving the studio. Sometimes I do take it out of the studio, but sort of basically under duress.
That's
Um,
I've seen those in antique stores, and I mean they're not that they're like antiques, but they're vintage at this point. Like it's hard to come by. But I've never realized that's what the dial was for. Was just to the closeness of the time, so you can get a thicker, thinner line.
yeah. So
Um,
yeah, and so you just put it against a metal ruler, and like
yeah.
that, and you get a
See.
thick line, and it's very effective. Or put it in a compass,
Yeah.
and
Interesting. Um,
so, but and I'm always scouring antique shops. Look, I find many similar, but none
yeah. Is
just like
is there a
you
brand
know.
of ink that you use on the regular that's sort
Yeah,
of go
I,
to?
I find that this is Caran
Oh,
d'Ache.
okay. Yep.
It's Swiss, I think they are, and this is carbon black. And I just like this is I've been using this for about 15 years. I've tried loads of others, and
That's the
this has got the nicest flow.
yeah.
And
It's everybody has their favorite
yeah,
ink or their favorite
and
like
if
nib.
another pen, another ink will do perfectly. I do use some. I don't know if you have this in the States, but you can see I've run out. But Parker Quink
I don't know
is
that one.
it. I think it is a British ink, but that's not bad. But it's not so light fast as the Caran d'Ache. So, but this is it's not cheap.
It
Look, there's really
yeah
nothing in it. It's
yeah.
all
The bottle itself is funny. Is it waterproof?
no, it's not. No, it's not waterproof. I've tried waterproof
Yeah.
inks, so that if you have any or anyone watching has any recommendations of good waterproof inks that don't clog up the nib,
Yeah.
uh, I'd be interested because I'd love to be able to use this with watercolors, but I just can't. So I basically scan in, and these days I do. I've always a lot of the time I've used quite flat colors in my books, and then in books like How to Be a Lion, I painted and scanned in with watercolor or acrylic, scanned in those paintings and textures, and then composited all of
Cool.
that in Photoshop.
I know that's not. We should jump into
Yeah,
drawing before I ask every question that I have. I have so many questions about that sort of like the transition from sort of the flat colors to the sort of more artistic expression side of things when it comes to coloring, because to me, obviously with like Max and things like that, it's a little bit more graphic.
Yeah.
And then we get into the artist, and you get way more. I mean, obviously subject wise, it probably even makes more sense just because it is about being an artist, but that sort of the expression and the color becomes a little bit more pervasive in the actual input of the content. And so there's questions there, but so why don't we'll start drawing and we'll start making, and
Cool.
I have questions just in general that I can sort of throw your way. But if you have stuff you want to change subject wise or anything of the sort, let me know, and I'm happy to sort of alter and move, ebb and flow as we go. So why don't you start us off a little bit with some sort of back history of, I mean, you started out in board books.
I started out in board books. I was I was your sort of communal garden painter, starving in his garret. And hold on, I'm just going to try and get this looking more or less. Let me just try and set this up.
Yeah.
So
No worries.
it's not. It's sorry. My setup here is far from perfect, but I'll try and make sure my head isn't entering the scene on a regular basis too. Okay, that seems all right.
Yeah, that looks good. You should be
okay. Cool. Now, what am I going to draw?
Yeah. So here's what I'm drawing. My wife and I were going about sort of like what would be fun to draw, and she mentioned the idea of a roundabout.
Roundabout.
Like, and so like, I'm gonna do like probably an elephant entering a roundabout or in the middle of one. The idea of like drawing a bunch of cars has been something I've wanted to do for a bit.
Oh man, I loved drawing cars in the artist, and in fact, someone on Instagram, I've yet to reply to them. I'm going to do that. So I was drawing. For some reason, I was let me find it. I was drawing. You can see here.
Yeah.
And here, all very small. Maybe, yeah. Well, they're all pretty small, but I was doing these sort of amazing 50s numbers that were sort of somewhat inspired by Cadillac Eldorado sort of thing. Oh, hold on. That sort of thing.
Yeah.
So much fun. Such beautiful lines. Yeah, I was just gonna. What I normally do, and I'm gonna do this. Is just I don't know. I'm gonna sketch and see where it leads.
That's a-okay. I think the idea of just play, like there's no set rule. It's called Gab and Doodle, and my doodling version is just making stuff.
Yeah.
But some people like come on and just literally sketch the entire time. And that's sure as well. And so whatever suits your fancy and entertains you for the time being.
Well,
we're good.
I might. Yeah, I'm gonna do that, and I might draw with a range of stuff so you can see the stuff that I do draw with.
If you throw materials that are interesting, let us know brands and stuff, because I know there's folks that tune in that always love.
Oh yeah, sure. Well, this is a Pentel brush pen, and they have various forms. There's that, and there is. Sorry, that's my chair that has quite a sort of weird creak to it. Not a least bell.
It's not your.
I have expired. So that's also a Pentel brush pen, but this comes with cartridges, and this comes with huge cartridges, and this is more like a paintbrush. And I've done a couple of books with this. I did How to Be a Lion. Do you know that book, How to Be a Lion?
Yep.
Yeah, I did that. I drew that with a pen like this. And so normally my drawings are pretty small. I used to be tiny. When I was drawing with oh man, I've lost it. It's here. With this, my drawings are normally pretty small, and I draw hundreds and hundreds of times because all my books are pretty much character based. I draw each pose loads of times to try and get just the right expression. Anyway,
when you're working small, does that mean that you scale it up for the?
that means exactly that. That I scale it up. So I scan it in at very high res.
Yeah.
And
Does that mean you have to make a lot of corrections though, or like?
no, that's so going back to what I was saying. That's sort of exactly what I'd love to find now in a line.
Okay.
That all the accidental stuff in there. So,
it's a question of like at what level. Like I love mistakes in my work, and I love little like nuances that show that it's sort of handmade or that it's variable. But there's also a limit to how much I'm willing to let be in there. And so like I do Photoshop out little like smudges and things of that sort, depending on how it affects the piece. Like, does it get in the way of a character or those elements? But do you do a lot of photoshopping after the fact, or is that something where it's like it's a pretty straight one-to-one?
Yeah, no, I do a fair. It depends. I'm trying to do. Oh man, this is terrible. I'm trying to do less photoshopping, but my last couple of books. So I bought myself a drawing pad recently, not a Wacom. I bought I wasn't sure if I was going to enjoy it, and I bought it so I could do. I already love what you're doing, nice and splashy and painty, and it's gorgeous. So I knew I wanted to achieve some things and the background and the colors of the books that was going to be very hard to do with
Like
by oh man, it's quite hard to draw a dog, isn't it?
You'll get there. Give it about 15 minutes, and then all of a sudden it won't be.
Yeah. No. It's all right. It's all good. It's a learning experience.
It shows that we're human.
Yeah, very definitely human. Yeah.
And with something like The Artist, because that's the one that I have on here. Is that something? I assume you did a lot of the color on that digitally.
That was the book that I bought the tablet for.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, I wasn't sure I was going to enjoy using a tablet. My previous goes on friends' tablets had felt a little bit like, this isn't going to be my cup of tea. I don't want to spend so much time looking at screen, all that sort of stuff. But I bought one because there was stuff I wanted to do that I knew I couldn't do any other way. So I got a brand called Huion. So it's a fairly decent size, and it's lots of the reviews said, yeah, it equates to the much more. Yeah. So I just yeah. So I'd started drawing. So I'm thinking as I talk. So I'd started using Procreate on the iPad and really loved the experience. I think Procreate's fantastic. It's such an intuitive program, and the brushes are amazing, like really, really nice. And I was the trouble with. Oh, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
It says live video ended. Thank you for watching.
Oh, sometimes it does that on the we're still going, but sometimes the feed that goes out to people, their Instagram kicks them off of the feed, and if you just open the feed back up, it
Oh, I
should.
see. Oh, cool. Okay. Right. Okay. There
Yeah,
you go. It's a
no, that
live
happens
bulb.
to me all the time. Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Cool. I'll do that. So I'll just refresh.
and it should pop back up, and we're
There
going.
we go. Oh, we're good. Yeah. What was I saying? So I was using. So I was sketching. So I bought an iPad because I heard people saying Procreate's pretty good. You should try it. And the experience with the Apple Pencil is pretty good. You should try it. And I'm not sponsored by
Yeah,
Procreate or Apple or Photoshop or anyone, but these are the tools a lot of people use. Man, I just got to say, I love what you're doing.
this is
That's
well. This
really
is all just
gorgeous.
paper so far, so this is
Ah,
a lot effect. But thank you.
no, you're making me jealous, and which is stupid, but I should do a lot more work off screen than I do. That's so beautiful. So yeah, I just scan that in though, and then do line work separately to it. I find it really hard to do the free flowing line work on top of painting,
Yeah.
where it's much easier to for me. So I thought, yeah, maybe Procreate will be the answer. But Procreate, unfortunately, does not translate very well into printed material. It's beautiful on screen, but it gets quite lossy,
Yep.
and you lose a lot of detail when you manipulate anything and all that sort of stuff. So I was really enjoying the brushes and the sense of freedom I had whilst I was doing all of that. It was fantastic. But my previous experiences with Photoshop were not half as good. And there were a couple of brushes that I really loved, like some charcoal brushes and watercolor brushes. Um, and I wanted to be able to use them in Photoshop, and Photoshop didn't have anything like them. Um, so I got in touch with Kyle.
Kyle
You know,
Webster.
you know,
Yeah.
yeah. And said, "Hey, I'm doing this book. Any chance you could try and make a brush for me that's a bit like a charcoal thing?" And he said, "Yeah, I'll give it a shot." And it came out in the next batch. So that was amazing, amazing, amazing. He did work for Adobe. He now works for Procreate.
Yep. Yep.
Um, and so that was amazing that he responded, like,
I
absolutely.
love, I love
Uh,
that you can just contact Kyle and say, hey, can you try
well,
this for
one of
me?
the great things about, I'm the first to berate social media,
Yeah.
but um, it's one of the great things is how we can sort of get in touch with each other and either say, "Hey, look, I love your work," or "How do you do that?" or this or that, or in this case, Kyle, help me. I need some charcoal brushes and some spray paint brushes and all that sort of stuff. And he said, "Let me see what I can do." So this book is really, I really loved mucking about in Photoshop to make this book. So it's a mixture of scanned in drawings, all of which I did on this. I was drawing on this really nice, what I love, just brown craft paper.
Okay.
And I'm going to draw a bit on this now, actually. I'm just going to do lots of different sketches, I think. I don't think I've got an idea of doing a drawing in particular.
That's okay. Anything where people can see you in practice, I think, is really what people tune in for, is to, one, hear your sort of history on things, but also to see you in action is the star. So. Tell me a little bit, again, going back to sort of some of the historical side of things, like, um, was your intention to end up in board books at the beginning, or
No,
was it?
no, it wasn't at all. No, it wasn't at all. I was considering how hard it is to get into children's books. I was really lucky. So I studied fine art,
Yeah.
and I after leaving art school, I had a studio and I was painting, making paintings, not really selling much. with part-time job, painting and decorating and that sort of stuff, to earn a living. And I was sorry, now I'm concentrating on doing this. Oh, hold on, I'm going to start again. So I was had various jobs, and I ended up working a couple of days a week in a design studio that no longer exists in London, called Gallery 5, that was set up by an amazing person called Jan Pieńkowski, who, I don't know if you know his work.
No.
He's pretty famous over in the UK, and I was very lucky to know him when I was growing up, and he illustrated some fantastic books, and I can show you some of his work later. And yeah, so I'm terrible at pausing once I draw, once I'm concentrating.
It's okay. You'll get used to it. Trust me.
I'm not a multitasker.
So he gave you sort of your big break, or?
So no, so basically, I worked in that company a couple of days a week, helping put the collections of greetings cards and papers and all that sort of stuff together.
Okay.
And after maybe 6 months working there, I thought, well, I may as well have a go at trying to design some cards. So I did at home and brought them in, and they said, "Oh yeah, these aren't so bad. We'll give them a go," and they did, and they went on sale. They did okay. They weren't amazing, and I left that job. Well, I left to go traveling. I left to go and travel around India for 3 months. I was about 25, something like that. And I got back, and I said to them, goodbye, hoping to come back to a job, sort of thing, and all of that. And they said, yep, cool. I got back, and they actually said, you know what? There was not a lot of work going on in the studio when you were here. Far too much mucking about and all that sort of stuff. So
we don't need you back.
Probably best if you don't work here anymore. Yeah. This letter, however, did turn up for you, and it was from a publisher called Orchard Books in the States.
Yep.
And their rights director, a guy called Barry Goldblatt, had been in London and had seen the cards, and so they wrote to me and said, do you fancy illustrating a couple of board books? So I lost my job, and the next second found the start of a career I absolutely love. And it took a while for me to take the career quite as seriously, because I was still very much a fine art painter then, and that's what I sort of thought I am.
Yeah, did you think sort of like just a temporary?
Yeah, it was just, oh wow, this is a great way to pay the bills, kind of thing. Yeah. Little did I know it's really hard to pay the bills as a children's book writer and illustrator. I mean, yeah, it can be lucrative, and it can be very difficult. You know, I think for most people it's pretty hard. But it's oh man,
as long as you're not sitting around with like a Rolex watch on, in a limousine. We understand the struggle that you're going through. Does it sound loud? All right. Ed, I can't hear you. It looks like his is cycling. Hold on one second. Ed. Oh, it says he left. Okay, so hopefully he'll be back here in 1 second. I'll try to invite him back in. Everybody, I don't know what happened there. Something occurred. I'm trying to figure out. I'll give it a minute just to make sure that there's no issues there, but let me see if I can let him back in. This is the fun of the internet. Can everybody hear me and see me? Let's make sure that's going. Okay, so it's just so let me see if I can invite Ed in here real quick. Okay, I'm going to send out an invite. We'll see if that works. Meantime, I'm trying to make some road-like colors that are not too dark. Gray. It's gray. Yep. There's never pressure. Let me see. Oh wait, did Ed try to get back in? Let's see. I'll try sending it again real quick. Hold on. Hopefully he didn't get kicked off permanently. He said something wrong, and Instagram Meta said, yeah. They said, we've had enough. Ed, if you were watching, well, it looks like my feed's blurry too, Lauren. Maybe what I'll do is I will restart and see if we can get a better feed, and then let Ed in, and just do it in 2 parts. So why don't I do that? We'll try to get mine up and running. So everybody that's tuning in, I am going to stop for a second. I'm going to restart.
Hey, so sorry about that. My phone is doing one of those. Let me take it out of its case. It's saying emergency. This phone is too hot. It's not even that hot in here.
Oh.
So hopefully it doesn't do that again. I've taken it out of its case. It's very hot for some reason. You know what? I'm going to stop charging it. Oh man.
See what happens.
I need to.
Oh, now I'm clear again too. Okay, yeah. I've been having like fuzzy issues, blurry issues on my end as well.
Have you?
From not of yours, but of my feed, and so now it's back for whatever reason.
Okay.
Maybe it's Instagram is just fighting against us the whole time.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't.
Hold on. Oh, come on, man.
What you were mentioning, but I know of that the guy had seen cards, and you got this book offer. I'm trying to think of like where it cut off, if anybody remembers.
Oh yeah, so basically, yeah, I got back from India, and a letter had arrived from New York asking if Ed Vere would like to illustrate a book, a board book, 2 board books, in fact, because they normally don't just do one; they do a pair. And so I said, yeah, I'd love to. And they sent me the manuscript, which was literally 6 words per book or something.
Yeah.
And my sort of mercenary mind thought, hold on, if I can write those 6 words, I can earn double my money. I quickly discovered that was a lot harder than
Meaning writing in general, or writing
writing full stop.
Yeah.
So I love writing now, but it took me a long time to feel comfortable thinking of myself as a writer.
Yeah.
Like a very, very long time.
I mean, you didn't have training as a writer of any sort, right?
I had no training at all, and at school, I I if you'd have told me I was going to be a writer, I would have fallen off my chair, because I was literally I was one of the kids who was not remotely academic. I was a kid who loved to draw, and I was like, sorry, without hoping this doesn't sound however it sounds, but I was like, at my primary school, I was the best drawer in the class, kind of thing. And and it wasn't something I had to think about. I just sort of knew how to draw. And writing, on the other hand, was like an unending nightmare. Now, everything sort of went fuzzy when in my head, when I had to sort of think about something. I felt like I couldn't think on demand. I can't draw on demand really either, but
Did you?
But drawing is a very different thing. I think drawing is something where, for me, the joy of drawing is when you don't think of what you want to produce and then produce it. You follow a line, and it guides you where it's going. It's a form of play, and it's a form of discovery.
Yeah.
And I love that about drawing and about art. And that was one of the things that I found very hard about art school, was drawing from life especially were really sort of frowned upon, like, this isn't valid anymore, what you're doing, it's embarrassing, kind of thing. I mean, just ridiculous. Took me a long time to recover from my experience of art school.
Yeah.
And
did your school have any sort of illustrative option, or was it primarily like
so I studied fine art, and what I wanted to do was, draw in the life drawing studio, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it just, there wasn't even a life drawing class.
Oh.
So we had to campaign. So I went to an art school called Camberwell in London, which is famous for drawing and painting from life. But when I got there, it was obsessed with conceptual art and what was happening at an art school called Goldsmiths further down the road, which was very famous at the time for the YBAs, Young British Artists, Damien Hirst and all that lot. And so that absolutely dominated the thinking in art schools. And as well as I think art schools internationally, probably same in New York and all over the States, and in lots of places suffered the same thing. And it sort of stemmed from the 60s, when a lot of things changed. But for somebody who just liked to or loved to draw, it was kind of a hard place to be. Having said that, I had a great laugh there. I really enjoyed my time there. But that was with friends, just enjoying being a student, kind of thing.
Even when I was in school, the painting programs and whatnot and drawing programs tended to lean towards that sort of conceptual side versus the tradition. So if you wanted to learn like Renaissance painting, the illustration program, and they would sort of nail down some of the more like technique based.
Exactly. And it was such a shame for anyone who loved to draw going to art school, because you were basically, it was sort of bullied out of you. I felt, and so many friends who had been brilliant draftspeople had it bullied out of them completely, and sort of drank the Kool-Aid, and and believed, that's not really a valid form of art anymore, Ed, what you're doing. And oh god, it was depressing. So I really had to sort of forge my own path with all of that. I can't remember how we started this, and me talking about all of this and feeling somewhat depressed about that.
We can shift. We can shift.
No, it's okay. It's good. It's kind of good to talk about, because I think there's probably a lot of people who are illustrators who are watching who've maybe had similar. Yeah, I don't know if people have had similar experiences or anything like
Well,
that.
let me ask
Um,
this then in relation to that, like thinking about the fine art aspect, because there's quite a few folks that I've had on who have come from, you know, a design background,
yeah,
and they're graphic design, and then it's I won't say it's a easy transition, but it's maybe a little bit more connected because you're dealing with client-based work and things of the sort. But coming from the fine art side and now doing what you do you see a connection, or like, I mean, obviously, like drawing skills and things of that sort uh, are visible in every illustrator's work generally, but I'm more wondering about just the idea of like you're working in a somewhat cartoony style.
yeah.
Uh, Obviously, that's not the same as life
How dare
model
you?
drawing. Yeah, yeah. It's not the same as having a life model in front of you.
Yeah.
But do you see the connection now, like looking back on it? Would you change things, or do you think that it somehow has made you the artist that you are today?
No, well, the only thing I would change is going to an art school where they appreciate drawing. But I'm glad that I studied fine art. I'm really glad that was the beginning for me of thinking about drawing and what it's all
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Because I think that has really, and again, I probably mentioned this guy Jan Pieńkowski a lot. I mention him a lot because he's probably one of the biggest influences in my artistic life. And I was really lucky to know him. And he was a brilliant artist. Outside of being a brilliant, there you go. There's drawing one done, Mr. Big. So that's one of my earlier
Yeah.
books, a character from one of my earlier books. And I will take this opportunity, as I'm talking about Jan, to show you some of his books, because if you don't know them, they are absolutely astonishing. They're really fantastic. So he was, sorry, I stepped away from the camera then for a sec.
Okay.
So so I'm opening the window, so hopefully the phone doesn't get so hot. I've just turned this light off to take some heat away. Does that look all right, or
Let
is it
me
better
hold
with the
on. We'll
light
take.
on?
Yeah. No, it looks great.
Like that?
Yeah.
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 Cool. Okay.
Either way,
So
it looks
Jan was. This is probably Jan's most two books he was most famous for. One is a series of books called Meg and Mog, about which are for very young kids, and I haven't got an example with me. I don't think. So I'm just walking about the studio as I talk to you. No, I don't have anything in here. They're all downstairs somewhere. But they're very, very simple and very simple, flat color, line drawing, and absolutely, I was inspired by those, and probably my work was a little bit too close to that stuff for comfort. But this, so Jan pioneered or re-pioneered pop-up engineering in the late 70s. This book is from 1979. I don't know if you can see
look at that. Yeah.
the complexity of all of this. I mean, it's an amazing book.
That
This
staircase.
book won the Greenaway Prize, which is the prize for illustration, best prize for illustration in the UK, the Kate Greenaway Prize. And you can open the level of detail in here is amazing. You can open all of these cupboards, and there's a shark in sort of sardine condiments, this, that, and the other. Spaghetti in the fridge, and sort of weird face appearing. Birthday cake in this oven, and then this monster octopus doing the washing up. So much going on, and it's why was I talking about Jan?
I'll say that the amount of detail and like that's not a pop-up book where they come to you and say like we're just gonna have one thing that pops up. That's clearly
No,
him
yeah,
deciding.
this is when the days where this is the days where this. I don't know how much this book sold for. This book sold for about £5 in 1979, and books a picture book in the UK now in 2025 sells for £7.99. So if you can imagine how expensive a
Yeah.
book was back then and what people were willing to pay, and this book sold in its millions.
Yeah.
There you go, skeleton coming out of a
Is it?
cupboard.
I assume it's hard to find.
Goes,
Or they reprinted and
no,
remade it.
it's in print. It's still in print.
Wow.
So yeah, and then the pièce de résistance is this page up in the attic with somebody trying to saw their way out of a box as this giant bat flies around. So that was and then he did, that was one example. Then he did simpler pop-ups. This is dinner time. But he experimented with his artwork, and it was always different every time. And so his partner was my godfather, and I would visit them with my family a couple of times a year. We lived outside London; they lived in London. We'd go and stay with them, and going down to Jan's studio was a complete and utter delight, and completely inspiring, and an amazing example to have, to see a grown man whose job was to draw all day. And every time we visited, he had a new project he was working on, and I love this.
I'm just watching.
And it was just amazing the work he did. And all very different. His life story is incredible. He was basically, as a child, he was Polish, and he was in the Blitz of Warsaw, and was a refugee in Europe for a few years at the end of the Second World War.
Yeah.
And traveled around Europe before they finally went to England when he was 7, I think, and there he found a home, and he's created. He did. I think he did well over 100 picture books, and is absolutely beloved in this country. And I think he's known by another generation in the States. He's very famous for this silhouette work, which is basically cardboard cutout with a marbled background. So,
and this is. Oh, did I lose audio here again? Oh no. Is it me? Is it him? Yeah. Oh yeah, it dropped out. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna restart my feed. So everybody watching, give me a minute. I'm gonna post this as part 1, and I'm gonna come back and hopefully correct some of the blurry issues, and then I will let Ed in. So how's everybody doing? Hello. This is part 2 of a Gavin Doodle with Ed Vere. As you can see, I put my sketch up here. We had some technical issues here. I'm gonna let Ed in 1 second. Let me just put ask us anything again here in the comments. So if you were watching before, you already know the drill. If you have not, or if you were not, well, that's not the word, anything, there we go. We're going to be chatting today, and hopefully I can get Ed in 1 second. Let me see if I can add him to the feed. Oh, I need to get my feed up here too. We're just having technical issues today, left and right. in the meantime. Hey, there we are.
Hey, sorry,
Did we?
overheated the phone again.
Oh
I've
no.
got an ice pack now, so this has never happened before. I don't know why it's overheating.
I don't,
Uh,
it's quite all right. I know it's I mean, you guys in England there are what? It's boiling.
it's kind of warm. It's not
Yeah.
boiling. Anyway, where did I cut off?
Well, you were showing some of the books, the silhouettes. You were showing the
Okay,
silhouettes.
cool. Okay, so this is a book he's very, very famous for, and oh man, it's just such beautiful work, really astonishing work, and so varied. So this book is from the late 60s,
I'm assuming
and
he's not with us anymore.
no, he died a couple of years ago. Sadly, he was and he was in his he was 86, 87, 86 when he died.
So
So
he knows the career that you had though.
oh
Or
yeah, absolutely, and he was somewhat competitive, but he was an amazing person to know, and you can see here. Look at this amazing, the sense of design he had. He also loved line, and was a master of line. He was also probably the most brilliant person. I mean, look at that for a children's book
yeah.
as well. Um, one of the ones he's really famous for. Let me see if I can find it. There's he. This is the book that made him famous in probably 1968 or something when it came out. This is a first edition of a book called The Kingdom Under the Sea, written by Joan Aiken. I don't know if you know her. She's a very famous writer.
Yeah.
This is actually 1971. And let me see if I can find the particular. So they had done another book together before this, actually. And Joan said to Jan, what shall we do together next? And Jan said, can you write some stories from where I'm from, sort of Mittel Europa, around sort of Poland and that sort of part of Bohemian Europe, I suppose.
Yeah.
So stuff with Baba Yaga and all these sort of fairy tales, and so you can see this gate made up of human bones, a shed on a chicken leg. And when you're sort of 7 or 8 reading this, they're pretty scary drawings,
Yeah.
I have to say.
Yeah.
There weren't lovely sort of. He loved doing these tussles of thorns like this. Anyway,
It's
there you go. This is a picture that's from. So this is a series of stories. This one's called. I think this one's called The Reed Gull, and the knight in question here has to evade the wolves, has to chop off his own hand to feed the wolves so he can make his escape. And it's such a brilliant piece of illustration, I think. That hand there in mid-space, just there's so much excitement of it. It's sort of cinematic. It's gruesome. It's the sort of thing that sparks a young mind's imagination hugely and stays with you. And so many people I know who are writers today were massively inspired by Jan's work because it was so unique and so different to anyone else, and he covered so many different sort of.
It reminds me of
styles.
there's a book for kids that I think was at least in the U.S. I don't know if it made it across. That was scary stories that probably every kid remembers from sort of the 70s and 80s. And I'm trying to think of if my wife is listening upstairs, she might even know the name of it. Or someone who's watching might know the name. But it's like quintessentially everybody knew it, and it was not necessarily kid friendly. It wasn't like a big, like, oh, every kid's going to be reading this thing because it's, you know, nice and sweet. It was serious, scary stories, but the style was just something that stuck with everybody. They just remember it for all time, and so it feels to me a little bit like that sort of setup. What is it called? Once I have the name, I'll relay it. I don't even have the book anymore, but it was one that I had when I was a kid. What so with the us? Oh yeah, Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. That's the one. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. With having that sort of, you know, relationship with someone that was in the industry, did you get a lot of insight? Was there lots of like, or did you have to learn a lot on your own? As you
I had to learn a lot on my own. So Jan was helpful in some ways, but he was also someone who didn't like to give advice necessarily. But pearls of wisdom were dropped, and I was lucky enough that he, every Friday night, it was Friday night, so you showed your commitment by missing out on a Friday night with your friends.
Yeah.
He had a life drawing group, which was him and a bunch of other illustrators, and I went to that for about 10 years, and people like Satoshi Kitamura, who's a brilliant Japanese illustrator, and a painter called Paul Wunscher, David Walter, who wrote alongside Jan and was Jan's partner, and others would drop in and out, and you learn a lot drawing beside someone.
Yeah.
And seeing how they draw and the sort of incidental comments that are made and all that sort of stuff. And there are a couple of summers where I worked for Jan, just as a studio assistant, putting stuff together.
Was this before or after art school?
This was in the summers, whilst I was at art school. So but you know, I might be, you know, just like lading up a van with stuff and taking it somewhere, yeah, or helping with a bit of artwork or something. He always liked to have somebody in the studio to bounce ideas off and to talk to about what he was doing. He didn't really like to work alone, so whereas I do like to work alone. Sorry, no comment about right now. But do you know what I mean? I mean, when I'm working. I do like to work alone. So I'm drawing now a book I'm working on at the moment, called, which I'm just about to finish, book called Waffles and Julius, about a very optimistic dog who's full of love, and a cat called Julius who is less full of love, and the dog wants a hug, and it is very, very unboundaried about that, and the cat is exceedingly boundaried and doesn't want a hug right at the moment. Thank you. So it's quite.
Is this something
I've really been enjoying trying to sort of get that look of fierceness in the cat and apprehension, sort of wild optimism plus apprehension, and attempts to be patient in the dog.
Is this a story that you wrote, or is this something
it's a story I wrote. I tend to write all my
all your books,
all my books. One exception was a book I did last year, which was I'll probably do you know a writer called Michael Rosen, poet.
The name sounds really familiar.
He's very he's huge in the UK. He's amazing. He's in his 80s now. He's just about to hit 80. And he writes all sorts of stuff. He's another very brilliant man. And he almost died during COVID. He was in a coma for over 3 months, and he came out of that coma and has been utterly prolific ever since, and just doing as much as he possibly can. And one of the things he did was this beautiful collection of poems, which is, so he's known for being very funny, but he's also extremely political and a very thoughtful man. He's really is a genius. And this collection covered him sort of reminiscing about his youth. So it's very nostalgic. It's also talks about his family that he lost in he's Jewish, that he lost in the Holocaust, and many, and then there's some funny poems. There are poems that are worried about the climate. There are poems that are really, in some ways, it's a bit of a reckoning of self. I think it's a bit of a sort of self-portrait of him. So it's a very unusual book to illustrate. I can show you if you like.
I would love to see any, like, all the behind the scenes stuff is always my favorite part when people, now I know that like certain things you can't show because of working on them, and
I shouldn't be showing you this is Waffles. I'll draw Julius in a moment. In fact, so this is the book, Out of This World, and I believe it is coming out in the States. So my friend, the great Patty Norman at Copperfields in Petaluma, who is America's finest children's bookseller. Honestly, she's fantastic. So I've toured through Petaluma a couple of times and become great friends with Patty, and she seems to know everyone who's anyone, and tours them around these Title I schools, and has started this amazing foundation called Bookstormer that gives books to the kids we visit. So she fundraises to be able to do that, and it's just like a really beautiful thing to. So this is an example of the work I was doing. I'll hold it up to the camera a little bit for the book of illustrations. So it's all black and white and very crosshatchy and very inky. So I used this pen for this book, and then scanned in, and man, I love doing this book. It's so wildly varied, all the subjects. And it was nice for me to illustrate somebody else's ideas for a change, not my own. Sorry, you were going to say?
I was going to say, do you feel like some of the bigger, like longer works like that, you know, has a lot of illustrations to it and is a little bit more robust as far as like the amount of content that you have to create for it? Do you feel like that's something that you enjoyed, or is that something that
I really enjoyed it? I love it. Takes much longer for me to do a picture book than it did to do this.
Yeah.
Like I don't think I've done a picture book that's taken less than a year. And because I both write and illustrate, and it takes me a long time.
When you say a year, meaning the writing and the illustrating?
The writing and the illustrating,
yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And it really is mainly getting the structure of a story right. And I never find myself working continually through a year in that way. I'm working on different things and different ideas at different, throughout the time. But there are periods that you need of gestation where you're not actively sitting at a desk.
Yeah.
And that I find that more and more important, and it really does not look like work to anyone watching,
No,
but it
but
is
yeah.
work.
I mean,
And
half the sketches I come up with are never make it to paper, and half the ideas never get written down. And like, but that doesn't discredit that they're valuable, or that time and patience of thinking is not significant or important to the overall aspect of making. So
yeah,
I totally, yeah.
yeah. No, so absolutely. I mean, that's all the sort of. I like this drawing of an old, what we call over here a Casey, an old leather football that he was given for his 6th birthday and promptly kicked up onto a roof and lost. There was an illustration I hesitate to say enjoyed, but it was a real challenge to work on, which was this poem called Family Secret, about him discovering a photo in a box, in a cupboard, in a room, in a house. And that photo was of people who had perished in the Holocaust. And I had to sort of draw him responding to that,
Yeah.
finding it and responding to it. And it was such a sort of, I'm a fine artist, and I do other work for my fine art, and I do my picture books, and somewhere in between this work sits. And I really loved making this work. I really loved the depth of it and handling very, very different emotions to the ones I might be trying to make work in a picture book. And going back to what we're talking about in a picture book, there are so many ideas. For me, it feels like there are so many ideas that have gone into the last 3 picture books: The Artist, How to Be a Lion, and The Elephant and the Sea. I'll show you the elephant. Have I got The Elephant and the Sea? Yeah, I do. Have you seen that book? The Elephant and the Sea?
I've seen that one.
Yeah, okay. So all of those 3 books took a ridiculous amount of time, and they all really mean an awful lot to me. They all say something separately, but in each book that I really believe in and really want to sort of impart something, because I feel like the world's in a very, very difficult place. I think most of us do feel that.
Yeah.
And without being, hopefully, I really hope without being didactic, I hope all my books are entertaining and lovely to read. But I want to give children a sense of hope and optimism about the world, and a sense of finding, especially in How to Be a Lion, for example, finding the courage to be themselves and not be swayed by peer pressure. Because I think that's a very hard thing when you're at school and you're 5 or 6 and you've come out of your sort of loving home environment.
Yeah.
And then you're at school, and so I was a pretty quiet kid. So really, I find I'm often writing for who I think are the sort of quiet kids. I'm writing for everyone, but very much for quiet kids too.
You're writing,
and it was a book to say, try to resist your peers with loud voices saying you ought to be like this, like a boy ought to behave like this, or a girl ought to behave like this. You know, a boy should be tough and not draw or not like poetry, and you know, you ought to like football. I didn't like football. I was not a sort of coordinated sporty kid. I love drawing, which is completely valid. But you know, there is a sort of thing at school where you shouldn't need to be a bit like that. So I want my books to give kids confidence to be who they are and not shy away from that. And so those 3 books, and The Artist is the book that's probably meant the most to me. don't have a copy of it. Oh, here it is. Because so many kids draw until the age of about 6 or 7, and when they draw, so I'm going to get all sort of, I'm going to go on my hobby horse now about stuff, but
Yeah.
do you mind?
This
is sort of what's behind the books, and you know, I'm as much as sort of when I'm drawing and I'm illustrating, I'm trying to all drawing is trying to communicate a message, and that's the thing that's most important to me is that this sort of fusion of words and pictures, and that I somehow managed to communicate a message in a subtle way that can be read hundreds of times, and it can be enjoyed, and hopefully you can love the characters and they actually come to life. You believe they are real, but there's also there's a content in there that talks about, and this one is about maintaining your creative confidence.
Yep.
So many kids at about the age of 6 or 7, they look around and see other kids drawing and they lose confidence, and they think, oh, they can draw better than me. And there is no better or worse. The important thing is that when you draw, you're expressing yourself. It's your voice. It's not that it's a sort of photographic replica of something in front of you. It's an expression of self. And there are not many other ways that we go into adulthood. You know, most people don't play a musical instrument these days. We don't write. And drawing is a really amazing way that kids naturally use and to express themselves emotionally. And when they stop, they lose that amazing thing. And at this time of, there's so many mental health issues at the moment, and I think it's a tragic loss that we let drawing wither on the vine with kids. And this book is really a sort of an homage to drawing, and to feel confident about drawing however you draw, and that mistakes absolutely do not matter. Mistakes are how you learn. Mistakes are how you get better.
So let me ask you a question on that, in the sense of, like, I've written a couple of books, and the books that I've written, I didn't really fully understand what they were about until later.
Yeah.
You know, like I had an idea of what I wanted to get across, or understood the basic story, but understanding the interpretation of it took time, and also other people reading it and sort of explaining it back to me of what they got out of it.
Yeah.
And in a book like The Artist, did you have the full vision right from the beginning, or was that something that developed over time as you were working on it, or as, editor weighs in? Did the actual meaning or the content develop itself as time went on, in a way?
The content developed itself as time went on. This book took an awful long time to write. I had so many ideas about, but there's so many potential directions that this book could have gone in, and to express something about what it means to be an artist. And it might have been more about something about emotions, or something about different aspects of art that I might want to talk about that would relate to kids. And to find exactly the right way of doing that took an exceedingly long time. And to find the right way to draw it as well. I'd be embarrassed to tell you how long it took, all in all, so I'm not going to. But it was a good couple of years. And I was working up other ideas at the same time. But and there'll be stuff that I find in books after the fact of their publication, when they're out in the world. It's like, oh yeah, and there's this as well, and this really that it tells you so much about yourself at a certain point in life.
Yeah.
And so I made these 3 books that all earnest and saying something, and I love them dearly. But then after that, I really felt like, you know what, I just want to make a funny book now that's quite, and I'm going to show you a couple of spreads. There's a sort of sneak peek of this book that's coming out next year. I've put a couple of pictures on Instagram, so you can see it there too. So it's this is Waffles and Julius.
It's so cute.
There you go.
Was that
And,
so? Was that one fully done on the iPad, or is that just the where you have it right now?
oh no, I did, that's just a PDF I'm showing you.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's a mixture of stuff. I've scanned in stuff, and but it's all super simple. Going back to sort of how I worked on Macs. So it's basically this sort of dog energy versus cat energy.
Yeah.
And Julius, the cat, is not having any of Waffles' overbearing love. And Waffles has got to sort of learn how to handle that. He doesn't. It takes him quite a while to. I mean, will he learn? Won't he learn? You'll have to read the book and see. It comes out next year. But yeah, I've loved doing this book. Every single drawing has just made me laugh a lot. And that's been a lot, and it's been much quicker than.
Is there a goal when you're making to, like, one of my goals whenever I'm making is to literally make myself laugh, or to make, not necessarily it has to be out loud, but there is, if I can make myself sort of internally giggle, then I know that I've done a job with what I've made.
For sure. And that's the goal with it. That's certainly been the goal with this book. And there's, so Julius the cat is an unbelievably grumpy, boundaried, sort of solid cannonball character who will not be moved. And there's something I love. It just makes me, it cracks me up. Those two energies pitted against each other.
Yeah. The odd couple scenario. One's clean, one's messy, one's, you know, smart, one's an idiot. Like the
yeah, I think they're both idiots, to be honest. But
they both,
no, I don't mean that.
every...
I love them both. They're both fantastic. But yeah.
And then are there with, you know, how long it takes you to make the book, do you have a lot on your plate at all times, or is that something wherein it's sort of wait until one's done and then you start the next one? Like how does, not necessarily that I know how contracts work, but I'm just wondering, like, with the time frame and the love and patience you want to put in your books, does that affect your ability to sort of sign on to other work?
So I've pretty much worked with the same publisher for the last 20 years, which is kind of unusual.
Yeah.
And I really have appreciated that continuity and that sort of sense of loyalty in both directions. And it's nice to have all my backlist in one place. And I have done other books. So the poetry book I did with another publisher. And they've been, and I've worked with my current editor for 10 years now. And she's Andrea MacDonald. Shout out, she's fantastic, absolutely brilliant. And I work with an amazing designer, Goldie Broad, another shout out, absolutely amazing. And Andrea's very understanding about my slow process and my somewhat lax attitude to deadlines, and my sort of view is a book is ready when it's ready.
Yeah.
And sometimes you can't put something out if you're not feeling it. And I don't want to put something out if I'm not feeling something. I always want to really believe in what I'm doing.
Have you've missed deadlines?
Oh yeah, I've missed deadlines by years. Um, seriously, I'm not joking. I have missed deadlines by years, and you know, I had creative block a few years ago, and it got to the point where it was a little bit sort of worrying. And it was really just I'd done a book, How to Be a Lion, and I think it's I think up until that point it was my best book, and I didn't want to put out a book after that that wasn't, in my mind, its equal.
Yeah.
So I found that really hard. The Artist was the book that came out after that, and it took me 5 years to publish the next book. There was a 5-year gap in between How to Be a Lion and The Artist, and it sort of, I think I'd done a more or less a book a year for quite a number of years, and I think I was just tired and needed a break, and I'm really glad that I was able. The nice thing about books is if you're lucky, you earn some royalties, and if you can just sort of coast a little bit on those, and I certainly did coast a little bit. But in that time, I was thinking of lots of other books and ideas, but nothing wanted to come to fruition. Yeah. And I think there's a point where an idea wants to come to fruition or it doesn't. And if you force it, you end up with something that, in my mind, is just not going to be so good. I've often it's a bit like this. So I find at the start of a project, and this is we probably all work in very different ways, don't we?
Somewhat.
Somewhat. Well, I don't know. I feel like, there are places where you can learn it. I certainly never learned how to write a children's book. No. Nobody ever taught me how to do it. I just sort of pieced it together by looking at other people's work and just making it up as I go along, and being lucky that, I got those board book things, and I managed to illustrate those in a way that they didn't throw their hands up in horror and say, "My God, you're never getting a job again." They were okay, and I sort of incrementally improved and learned, and it's a learning curve. You learn on the job. I certainly learned to write on the job, and that's a massive part that I really love about making picture books now. I love the writing of them.
Do you feel like you're at now where, obviously it's still, I assume, a challenge, but especially with working with the same publisher over and over again, that there's an understanding of like, oh, they get your voice, or they understand sort of the vibe that you put out with your writing? Or is it still sort of every book is a new venture and you're not sure whether they're going to like it or not?
Every book is a new venture.
Okay.
For me, like I don't know I never know what's coming next, and I love that about it, and that's sort of somewhat terrifying.
Yeah.
About well, especially when you're having a period of creative block, and you think, holy shit, am I ever going to be able to write a book again? Like, has the creative urge dried up?
Yeah.
And which, I don't know how many people that happens to, but it happened to me for quite a while. Um,
Do you?
but maybe it was I think I just needed a rest, to be honest.
So yeah,
Um,
what methods, like thinking about the folks out there that are new to it or are trying to break into this industry, who run into these walls that essentially you've run into before, I've run into before. Are there things or methods that you've used in the past that have somehow allowed you to get past that block? Like some of it's just you got to sit down and just work, and eventually it will
yeah,
pass. But what was
this
there
too
some?
must
Yeah.
pass. Well, it's a bit of both, isn't it? I think there's a phrase, or there's not a phrase, but something that Picasso said once, and somebody asked him if he believed in inspiration, and he said, "I do, but it has to find you working. It doesn't just come out as a bolt out of nowhere." And I think that's really true. And I think also you need to give yourself rest. Your cup you have to fill your cup so you can then drink from it and produce.
Yeah.
And if you're doing book after book after book after book, your cup drains. And I'm doing some really crap lettering now, but that's okay. It's all okay. Nothing matters. Uh,
So how do you decompress? How do you give that break? Is there something else that you do on the side that is um, your reprieve from art making, or is it trying a different type of art in general that gets you there? What's the methodology that's worked for you? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I see the dreaded. Of course, I ask a question, and the thing stalls out. And now it's just back to me again. That's not good. Okay, I'm going to give it a minute. And I'm blurry. What is going on with the internet today? All right, give me a second. I'm just going to paint some of these little windows on these cars. And then I will try to get Ed back in here in 1 second. I'm just trying to get this paint off my brush in the spots I need before I forget what I'm doing. There we go. Okay, let me see if I can get Ed back in. Darn technology is right. Let's see if that works. My guess is Ed is overheating again. He's a spicy fella.
Conversation is too hot for TV.
Yeah. Yeah, he's it looks like he's not even green on here, which means he's probably not connected right now. Let me see. I'll try inviting again and we'll see what happens. But I'm a blurry mess too, though. Whatever is going on with this one is not fun. Why is it always when we have these big superstars that heck? No, I mean, not that everybody else isn't a superstar, but I make sure I very carefully manage that statement. Will you keep an eye up there to see while I continue
What do I look for?
just to see if it still has the invite waiting.
I can't actually.
Oh, you can't see it? You're not tall. Yeah, Matthew Burks, it is blurry today, that's for sure. Let me see if I can try this again. It's funny because when he's on, it's clear. When it's me, oh, it's still waiting for him to join. Okay.
You can ask conversation topic.
Okay, topic while we wait.
Other people, what do they do to fill their creative cup?
Yes. The creative cup question. My wife says, how do other folks fill their creative cup? Is it I'm trying to think of what's like
Mm-hmm.
Something that doesn't make me seem boring, like,
Watching TV.
watching TV, which everybody kind of does. But are there other things? Go for a hike.
Yeah.
That's not my cup of tea. That doesn't fill my cup.
Get together with family.
No, that's boring too. Eating good food.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Spending time with my wife and now again. Waste.
Can't be it.
Let's see.
Artist dates. JB Wright.
Artist dates.
Yeah.
Ooh. Dates.
Mm-hmm. Kind of like this. This is like an online date that has technical difficulties.
Yes.
It says he's.
Oh, he's back.
Yeah.
He's back.
Hey,
We're back.
Sorry about that. Overheating phone again.
Yeah.
It's so weird. I have no idea why it's doing it. I'm going to try and
You gotta
balance
spice.
an ice pack on top and see if that just keeps it. Might come crashing down at some point. Let's see if that works. Anyway, so there's hiking. There's basically step away from it for a while.
Yeah.
And whether it's I watch a lot of TV as well. Currently Boston Legal, which I'm enjoying.
Oh, really?
Don't know if you ever watched that. It makes me laugh. And
right?
a friend Sophie Hen recommended it. She's a great author and illustrator over here in the UK. Check her work out. And she's a fountain of knowledge about all sorts of things. Publishing industry. She's very, very funny. But she has great recommendations for TV shows. So yeah, it's always good to step away and just completely decompress with something that's sort of ludicrous and funny. But in terms of, so where I got to a point with the artist where I was working on it, but I couldn't find the thread or the narrative. I had so many different ideas, and I had hundreds and hundreds of sheets of paper of ideas going in different directions, and I just couldn't my brain couldn't really condense it into something clear. I was just it was all sort of out of focus for me, so I eventually went through everything, cut it all out, cut it out of sketchbooks, cut it out of I often have a sheet of I'll show you. Let's see if I can find page of artwork from it. Oh man, where is it? Sorry, excuse my pause. Just trying to see if I can find some artwork from that book.
Are you digging through flat files?
Yeah, I've got some. Yeah, man, where is it? Somewhere, not here. Damn it. Here we go. There we go. Is this it?
You didn't know you were going on a history.
I have no idea where I put it. Oh, hold on. Is that it? Sorry, excuse me. You're not in a rush, are you?
No. I'm here for a while. You got a captive audience.
Okay, it's not there. Oh, I don't know where it is. It's somewhere. My studio is a bit of a mess at the moment. I just moved studio quite recently. So I can show you from another book. Have I got that stuff?
Do you
God.
sort of storage stuff?
Anyway, I might have lots of sketches on a sheet of paper, and one of them is right and the rest aren't. So I hesitate to sort of chop all those things up because I like them complete. But I chopped everything up, and so I ended up with hundreds of drawings across quite a big wall, and I just pinned them all up and sort of gathered them into things that felt they looked like they work together thematically, and they might go like 4 spreads long, or some might have a start and a potential ending. And I always had an idea in the book The Artist, but how I wanted it to end, which is the final spread. Well, it's actually not. It's the spread before the final spread. I had this picture in mind, and I wanted to get to that picture. This idea of art being liberating and filling your heart, and that it's wild and free. It says, "Wild and free, her colours fly. This artist's heart is full." And you can see all the sort of scribble going over the buildings. The sense that you don't need to be neat and perfect. You just need to express yourself. And I wanted that to be the destination of this book, and there were so many ways of getting there, and I couldn't work out the best one. And as I said, I didn't feel like I could focus my mind properly.
When you
I pinned everything up, and just basically a bit like William Burroughs had this cut-up technique that he used to use when he wrote, and he just cut everything up and shifted around, and things that didn't belong together suddenly really worked. And so, they suggest other things, and it's a very good way of finding a thread, finding lots of different threads, and that helped me crack this creative block, just doing that. But particularly just seeing all the, and I'm sitting looking at my studio wall now, and
looking at the totality of everything.
well, I'll show you actually. I'll do a dangerous maneuver and free this.
We're gonna see studio. We're gonna see studio. It's always fun.
So, there you go. That's the imperative work now. So it's a complete and utter. Oh my god, it's a real mess in here.
You don't want to see my studio then. My studio is far worse.
No, I'm sure it's not. I'm going to artfully not show you everything. I'm going to you get sort of selected highlights. Let's pull that out. Okay, so this is the sort of first draft of Waffles and Julius. The book's called No Hugs Please.
Yeah.
And I just pinned all of these drawings up on the wall and shifted them around and around until I got something that worked. And I've done sort of similar things.
When you work on projects, do you end up putting a new series of drawings up?
Yeah, that's what I do
Yeah.
now. And so I've because it keeps them in mind when they're in a sketchbook. That was an inspirational picture for me for How to Be a Lion. It's a little landscape.
Yeah.
Little doodle of Glenn Gould. Great music to listen to if you're. There you go. That's the artist. I'm obsessed with drawing birds in flight at the moment as well for some reason. So I think that'll turn into a book. That's me and my girlfriend in Nepal a few years ago. There you go.
We're getting the real tour here. We're getting the
man. And this is something that I you get sent things by kids, or you do school visits, and I got sent this little scrap by a kid as a school. I love box so much. I love books so
Oh,
much, and it's the sort of thing that just absolutely. And I've got a few up here, kids' drawings. You know when you're feeling like, oh man, I can't come up with an idea. All of this stuff absolutely fills me with a sense of purpose, and like, this is such a lovely thing to be doing. I'm so lucky to be doing it. That was a very early drawing for The Elephant and the Sea, and that's a kid's interpretation of it.
I have never. What's funny is I've never thought about putting, like, because I have a few drawings that like kids have made me and stuff, and I've never thought about putting them up in my studio. And now that totally like, I should do that. I should put.
It's a really nice. It's a really nice energy. Uh, shelf. Shelf porn. It's probably not shelf porn at all. They're just messy shelves.
Yeah.
I There's such a beautiful energy in kids' drawings, which I absolutely love. I find totally inspiring, and wish I could draw like that.
I feel like most illustrators later on in their career try to like get back to a little bit of that. Like I'm trying to do that
totally
with my work. I know there's lots of folks that have gotten to that point where it's sort of like, okay, how do I get back to the core?
Yeah. Well, that's what Picasso famously said. I think one of I can't remember the exact direct quote, but
yeah,
he said you spend all of this time learning how to draw, and then you've got to pick it. You've basically got to pick it apart and unlearn everything you learn to have the freedom and that sort of direct expressiveness that a kid has when they draw. Because whenever you look at whenever I go and draw with kids in schools, my drawing looks sort of lumpen and dead, and theirs all look so alive. And you know, they're not perfect drawings or anything, but they are perfect drawings because they're just so bloody alive,
uninhibited,
and completely uninhibited, and just things of beauty. And it's such a privilege to work in this field, and to see that, and to go and work with kids, and to be inspired by them, and to work for them, and to I you know, I said earlier, you know, the world's in a tough place at the moment. It certainly is, but we're lucky enough to be doing something that is dealing in hope and positivity.
Yeah,
and that's a wonderful way to fill your day.
Well,
as long as AI doesn't steal our jobs in about two years' time, which it's certainly trying to do. I've got to say, I love what you're doing. It's so it's my computer feed has been cutting out all the time, so I haven't had it up in front of me. Now I'm looking at what you're doing, and
thank you.
It's just fantastic. It's glorious. I love collage, and yeah, you're doing such a it's so nice seeing it come to life like this. It's fantastic. So will you incorporate line perhaps with that?
This is all base sort of colors, and then I come back in and do all the like details after the fact. But this is I got to get all the cars in the roundabout first.
Okay. So when you're doing the line, can I ask you questions?
Yeah, you can totally ask me anything you want.
When you're doing the line, do you, you know, you put all this beautiful artwork together, do you have a sense of fear that the line, you know, you're going to mess up the line?
Yeah,
or is it all correctable and now it doesn't really matter, or what?
I wouldn't say it's all correctable. I would say that it's all manageable. And
Okay.
and so like I have the same thing. Like you mentioned right up at the top of this whole thing, the idea of lines that are confident. And that's the term I use too when I talk about the lines I like. Is I like a confident line where it doesn't need to be perfectly straight, it doesn't need to be the perfect line, but I don't want hesitation in a line.
Yeah, man, I hear you. That is exactly, you've completely expressed it.
And so
That's it.
you can see the screen, but I hate when people do this where they try to draw a straight line and then end up doing these what I refer to as hairy lines.
Yeah.
Because I have lots of
something sort of feathered.
Yeah. And I just draw a line. And it's so much more like
you're brutal. Come on, man, just draw a line, god damn it.
But that element has sort of bled over into just art making for me in general, that I don't care if it's going to be perfect. I care that it looks like I had intention.
Yes.
As long as that's true, then I'm in good shape. I do see online right now, Tom Booth, who's Tom will tell you, I assume you might know Tom Booth's work, says he's reading How to Be a Lion to His Son right now.
Oh, wow.
And he said he's learning how to roar. And they said, did Ed already share how much the story for the artist changed from the initial draft to the final, given the time spent? And I know that's, I mean, thinking about whether it be that book or just in general, because books take you a little bit longer, is there an evolution that essentially happens that that is what like rewarding, or is it something that just like it doesn't even, there's no reward to it, it's just it happens and you accept whatever it may be or whatever outcome comes out of it?
There is absolutely, oh god, yeah. I mean, it's all about evolution, and it's all about being willing to change, and not knowing where you're going, completely not knowing where you're going, and yeah, I really welcome that, and this stuff that, you know, is sort of well known in this sort of term to kill your darlings, when you write, which is sort of gruesome term, but it just you can be at the beginning of a book or an idea, you can be very attached to particular drawings or a particular idea, and then as you go along, you realize perhaps this is the thing that's holding me back, or holding the completion of the book back, because it was apt for the book at a certain stage, but it's just not now.
Yeah.
And that's part of, I think, what you're talking about, that you've got to be able to do that, to evolve, to let in. Sorry, I'm being, I find it so hard to draw and talk. I'm definitely a bloke who cannot multitask. It's very embarrassing.
It is a skill that can
Sorry.
Sorry,
I shouldn't make that gendered. You know, I'm just someone who can't multitask.
Tell me a little bit sort of about are there goals in particular? Because I mean, you've been in the illustration world for a while, and I don't mean, man, you're old or anything like that, but
I am.
Yeah. But more, are there things that you look at now that you go, oh, this is something I would like to tackle at some point before I retire? Or, I mean, like, I'm not a spring chicken myself, and there's things that I've sort of put on the bucket list of artistic making that have become sort of important or a little bit more clear to me as time has gone on. Like, oh, I need to start moving towards, A, B, or C, whatever it may be.
What What are your things out of interest? Not so I can just copy what you're saying, obviously, but
Well,
I'm
no,
just interested.
like there's part of me that starts to think it'd be fun to work on something that's maybe a little bit longer term, that is not a like 6 months and done project.
Yeah.
Like maybe that's a few years in the making.
Yeah.
And picture books for me are generally a year max sort of situation, and it would be interesting to see what time wise it would look like if I were given, 3 or 4 years to make something. What kind of work would it be? How would it evolve over time, et cetera, et cetera?
Yeah.
And then the other sort of aspect of it for me is just looking at, I think as time goes on, I keep going back to this idea of I want to make work that is that has more heart to it. And
Right.
is not as sort of frivolous as potty humor or some of the things that I've dealt with in some of the books. And I don't know what that means. I don't know what that entails. I don't know what that looks like, but that is something that's starting to like mean something more to me as time goes on.
Yeah. Well, that sort of sums up the last 3 books that I did, was trying to get heart and trying to get a sense of how I felt about stuff in the world and wanting to say stuff to kids, which is why, some of those books took a long time, and how, the artist took 5 years really to, to really come to fruition. That book took 5 years. And I find I would like to write longer form stuff.
Yeah.
So I'd like to write chapter books, write and illustrate chapter books. I've always felt also I wouldn't mind doing a graphic novel. But I'm really interested in sort of, when you write a picture book, it's very much, it's a completely different form of writing to any other form of writing. So it is structured. It's all about where you turn the page and the anticipation and all that. When you write a novel, the page turn obviously does not matter at all. So if I were to write middle grade fiction and it's illustrated, the page turn still does not matter. So I'd love to write with that sort of freedom, and see what happens. I'm really, really keen to do that. There is a project that I've been working on for a long time, and I still, it's another one that's sort of embarrassingly late, but it's sort of more unpaid one. So I have been, there's a brilliant conservation foundation called Born Free, and they free animals in captivity, where captivity isn't working for them. So like tigers kept in nightclubs and all that sort of ridiculous shit, and animals that are unhealthy, or and they also work all around the world trying to mitigate human animal conflict. So they work a lot in Kenya, for example, in 2 places in particular, in Amboseli and Meru, and they are very, there's a film called Born Free that you may have heard of that was very, very big in the, I think in the mid 60s.
Yep.
It was sort of the biggest film that year. And the 2 people who starred in it, Bill Travers and Virginia Travers, started up Born Free after making that film. So that film was based on a real story written by Joy Adamson about rewilding a lion cub. And to make the film, they used 13 lions, because the lion in the film had to be able to swim, had to be able to jump on top of a Land Rover, had to be able to do this, do that. and no one lion could do it all. So they had lots of different lions. So, you know, on a given day, they'd have a choice of lions to use. And nearly all of those lions went into captivity after after making that film, which horrified Virginia and Bill. So they started up the Born Free Foundation to keep animals in the wild. And to so we humans are obviously encroaching on wild spaces everywhere globally, and wildlife is under huge amounts of duress because we're cutting off migratory routes, and still, you know, animals being megafauna is being poached all across Africa and in different places. People are still allowed to hunt lions, disgustingly.
Yep.
And I think so. After doing the book, after doing How to Be a Lion, I thought I really want to paint lions. I really love making that book, and part of the time I was making the book, I was in sort of in between living arrangements, and I was staying with a great friend of mine, Sophie Darlington, who is an absolute genius filmmaker. She's a wildlife cinematographer, and she does a lot of stuff for David Attenborough. And I was staying in her flat while she was filming penguins at one of the pole at the pole that penguins are. That's the South Pole. And she said, yeah, stay at my place, Ed, whilst I'm away. And her place is just completely redolent of a life lived very well, full of adventure. And I thought, my God, I would love to do some of this. And I would love to go and after making this book, paint lions in situ. And I was having a conversation after a book fair called the Hay Festival on the border of Wales and England, which is one of the best literary festivals in the world, full of very, very interesting people. And I'd done a talk there. And when you leave the festival, it's about 40 minutes away from a train station. They put you in a car with 3 other authors, and who are probably you may not have met before. And I was put in a car with 3 other authors, and we just started a conversation. And by the time we got to London 5 hours later, we were the best of friends. And I'd mentioned this thing about wanting to paint lions, and she said, oh, well, you should meet my friend Virginia. And I said, who's Virginia? Virginia Travers, Born Free. So 2 weeks later, I found myself in Virginia's house, having lunch, and said, I'd love to make a book about... Basically, I grew up in the country, and living in the country and a sense of nature has always really resonated in me. And then I spent 30 years living in London, and I thought, what a tough place to grow up that must be, from my perspective. And I think, so I said to her, I would love to make a book that engenders a love of nature in kids who haven't had a chance to live in it. And so these kids, when they grow up, if they are to give up stuff, as we are not managing to do, to try and save, you know, nature and, you know, and address the climate concerns, modern concerns, the catastrophe and biodiversity catastrophe, all of these things where we're absolutely on massive tipping points and we're doing nothing about it. If the people who are governing us in 20 years don't have a love of nature, we're not going to change anything. So I want to write a book that helps to engender a love of nature in kids who've grown up in an urban environment.
Early.
And
Catch,
sorry?
to catch them early.
Catch 'em early, exactly. So, so with that in mind, I'd love to go to Africa and paint lions, and then talk about that experience. So, 6 months later, I was in Kenya with Born Free for 5 weeks, uh, and with a Born Free Land Rover, and with President of Born Free, Will Travers, going around painting, trying to paint lions, trying to find lions, but seeing the amazing work that they do, to and all that they do so much work to sort of mitigate human animal conflict, and so that is a very long-term project, and something that I'm slowly putting together behind the scenes, very slowly for them, I'm afraid. But it's one of those things that sometimes things take a very long time to happen. But this is one of those long-term projects that is sort of top of my list, but doesn't always, sort of money work often has to come first. Not that I would call any of this money work, but you've got to pay the bills too. And so it's juggling all of that stuff. And that's another book that is sort of finding the way to tell that story is it's taking a, it's one that's going to take quite a long time. I've just sort of gone to the end of the studio to see if there's any, if I can find any work from there to show you.
Is there any way to make a story that's actually your story, like be more?
It is essentially going to be my story, and I want to tell it through the eyes of someone. So I'm going to show you a couple of sketches.
Yeah, a little autobiographical in nature.
Yeah, it really is going to be autobiographical, because I think it's sort of, told from the point of view of someone who is not an expert, and my journey of sort of discovery about the damage. Now I've got drawings of sheep in this folder as well. Everything's sort of mixed up. So I didn't find those sheep in Kenya. Let's see, what else have I got? Let me take this off the wall.
I love all the little behind the scenes.
Okay.
Look at that. Man, that sheep is so good.
Can you see this line? Is that showing up?
Give it one second. It's got a little delay, so I'm waiting for it to.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Lovely.
Anyway, so again, that's sort of more drawn in my painterly style than my kids' book style. But it's a book that's going to be for children sort of 12 upwards, I'd say. Something like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just a couple of sketches from this project. But yeah, that's one of the background things. And then another thing I'm working on is I will draw the character in question as we speak about it. I think have you come across my Max the Brave books?
Yes, I have them right here.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm working with a studio in the Netherlands called Submarine on developing a TV series called Max and Bird. So the third book in the series was Max and Bird.
Yep.
And we're sort of at the development stage of that at the moment. So fingers crossed that goes all the way. But that's an utter joy to work with a group of people on one of your ideas and see it grow from what was initially a tiny drawing of something that,
In a
you know, then
book or
then became a book, and then, you know, potentially may become a TV
I
show.
mean, I can definitely see that one becoming a show. Like aesthetically, that book is so ripe for turning into a animated sequence or a moving element. Just right off the bat, it feels so in line with that I could definitely see that becoming a show of some sort. Is that, do you get
Thank you.
it at right now? You said, I'm sorry, you said it was in the sort of like negotiation stage.
Oh, so it's in development at the moment.
Okay.
So, where as you probably know, you know, you can be in development with stuff and either get somewhere or it doesn't get somewhere. But we're working with some great writers at the moment. The scripts are very, very funny. France Television have invested in it, and so let's see. But it's very exciting once that world starts to grow.
Yeah.
And um, and other people are growing it. You know, your initial ideas are the beginnings of it, and then other people come in and add their flavors, and they're completely new ideas. And it's a sort of lesson in having to let go a little bit or quite a lot. And it's also just a pleasure seeing how it grows when you feel it, you know, someone's bringing so much great, or several people are bringing so much great stuff that you would have never thought of. And I came up with Max the Brave after working on I'd spent a year and a half working on an animation project which didn't come to fruition, based on my first book, The Getaway. And we got a very long way down the road with a really great production company called Tiger Aspect, who are very well known in the UK. And they'd done a brilliant show called, they do Mr. Bean, the animation, and they'd done a brilliant kids show called Charlie and Lola. And this book was going to be this animation was going to be the next sort of their follow on from Charlie and Lola. And it just didn't nudge over the line in the end. But man, it was fun working on it, and it was great seeing what it turned into. But it got very, very complicated. And so after working on that for a year and a half, I wanted to make a character who I thought would be easy to animate. So I just drew the simplest character I could. And I wanted him to be super expressive. So for me, it was all about how he doesn't have a mouth. So it's just all in the body language and the expression in the eyes that hopefully
give all the
tells you everything you need to know about him and what he's feeling.
Yeah, the character is more than just the mouth talking. It is everything involved. So no, this it totally makes sense to me. I'm excited to see. Like, I hope the one gets made into a show. I know that it can be very finicky trying to get something made into a show over time. And I worked in animation for years.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
I know how tricky it is to get something made into a show, and all the work that goes on before it even comes close to being, greenlit officially.
Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah. There you go. Exactly. So it's the art of not keeping your hopes up.
Yeah.
And remaining enthusiastic.
Yes.
About it.
Yep.
A bit of both.
I want to
maybe.
like sourpuss while they, because they're the ones who will make it happen.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Yes, quite a few people have come over from animation into kids' books, and you guys are always, you seem to be so prolific comparatively, and there is obviously the way animation works, you have to work very quickly, and children's picture books, if you, a lot of people who make picture books do work much more slowly. I mean, one of my great friends is, I'm sure you know, Chris Horton.
Yes. Yes.
And he takes multiple years with his books as well. And then so and both ways are completely acceptable, but I do feel like quite jealous of that amazing productivity
Speed.
that I guess you guys just have drummed in, or it's just the way it's got to work. And I did love that when I was working with Tiger Aspect. You just can't afford to be precious, and I can probably get a bit too precious when I'm working. Nice. That's what I've enjoyed about Waffles and Julius, is being a little bit less precious. But trying to, it's all about the expression, trying to get just trying to get life into it, and not being too obsessed with like the quality of line or
every
the
little
things I got obsessed with in The Elephant and the Sea, for example, or something like that. But yeah,
I don't think animators are all that much faster. I think that there's a good crossover between with the idea of storyboarding. I mean, essentially, or keyframing for animation is basically the same thing as doing thumbs for a picture book, and so it's there's not a huge leap that has to happen, and that's why I think it's maybe a little bit easier for some folks that transition.
Yeah, well, a few other people I'm thinking about who are like Benji Davis, Jim Field. I don't know if you know these guys in the States.
I know the names. I don't.
Steve Small, who makes just gorgeous work, and there's a guy called Mikey Please, who his first picture book just came out. It's fantastic, and he recently did a film with Aardman called Robin that was out on Netflix a couple of Christmases ago, which was fantastic, and those guys really hit it out of the park, I think, in terms of making really fantastic picture books, and obviously knowing how words and pictures go together.
Yeah.
And often there's a lot of humor in there as well.
Do you find now that you're sort of on the back end of it, seeing the production sort of starting, or the idea process, is it something that sort of feels somewhat relatable to the sort of your work, or the like does it feel inherently connected in some way to Kidlit as you're looking at it, or is it something that feels wildly different than your expectations?
No, I think it what I've noticed, what I think the difference is, there's a lot of atmosphere, and that, and obviously John Klassen too came from animation, didn't he? I think John Klassen was doing animation before he got into picture books. I think I'm right in saying that, and I think all of those people are very good at sort of thinking somewhat cinematically about their books, and I think that's a really good way of thinking about a book. And a book is in some ways a series of scenes, and there's all sorts of stuff off camera, as it were, in between those scenes that links them up. But I think in terms of artwork style, there's something really cinematic about all of those people somehow. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no. I mean, the idea of like just staging shots and
yeah,
we actually teach a class at the school that I teach at called cinematic storytelling, and a lot of people assume that it means just like filmmaking, but in reality, it's about how to make shots that are cinematic looking or have that kind of like that power of cinema
Yeah,
attached. But it inherently is a lot of like, illustrator in the class, and it's actually an illustration class to,
yeah,
but it's that same sort of like, how do you make something feel big, even though it's a flat 2D sort of image. With thinking back to sort of the fine art side of where you come from, do you think that over time that you'll like, well, one, do you get a chance to just paint now, like,
yeah. I do.
model in front of
And in fact, I'll show you a few of my sketchbooks because I got some because I ready because I thought it might be nice to show you because I think that's like for me quite an important part of what I do. Number one, I love doing it. So, and number two, it's a really important way of me looking at the world and sort of where my ideas come from. I think a lot of my ideas. It's just looking at the world, looking at dynamics and the theatre of life. So this is from I was in Buenos Aires about 18 months ago, or a bit longer. And I stayed there for about 5 weeks. I went over for a book festival and I stayed there for about 5 weeks and was just working on I was working on the Michael Rosen poetry book there. But it's got a great cafe culture and it was a lovely place to just sit and draw people. And so it's one of my favorite things. I also went to a few live classes there. Are you allowed a bit of nudity on here?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's drawing, so yeah, I'm sure you're fine.
It's drawing. Yeah, it's drawing. Yeah. Let's see. So this is
I'm used to.
this is my happy place. Sitting in a nice cafe with a coffee, drawing people, and trying not to be observed as I do it, because then people get self-conscious. And Buenos Aires seem to be full of very fashionable people, and drawing people playing music is fantastic as well. I love that. I don't know if are you getting the stream? Well, you're concentrating on your drawing, so you probably can't see what I'm holding up. But let's have a look. This is so. I normally take a little sketchbook like this everywhere I go, and normally something like a Pentel sign pen, sometimes a brush pen, or I love these Caran d'Ache luminants, and I've got, like, they're stupidly expensive, but they're so good. I've got a whole bunch of colors, and I love. And then let's see, where do we start?
I think I've become a Caran d'Ache fan more and more every day.
They're so good. Their stuff is so good, and the difference between this was in Lisbon about a year ago, a year and a bit ago. We went for a long weekend. Really bad drawing of my girlfriend Rach.
You're keeping up drawing. Like, I don't draw in a sketchbook anymore.
Oh man, it's my favorite thing. I love it. I just, I wish I could get paid for that too. And then this is New York. I was in New York almost exactly a year ago, a bit longer, doing some school visits and a bit of a book tour. Um, I, I love it. It's such a, I love, I love watching the world go by,
Yeah.
and that's something that Jan always taught me as well. Jan always used to take a little moleskin sketchbook with him everywhere and just draw all the time, and it just teaches you to look at the world and noticing all the small details in life is great for sort of filling that cup I mentioned earlier, to getting ideas,
Yeah.
but it's also just great for general life enjoyment. What noticing stuff in the world is one of the things I was trying to say in The Artist. Slow down and notice stuff. There's so much beauty in the world if you only just slow down and look at it.
Take a minute for
Take a minute, and if you like drawing, draw it. And man, it's absolutely, I get so much pleasure from doing this.
I mean, I
Um,
know that you like to draw and draw and draw, but do you get a chance to sort of like, is a lot of what you're doing like sketchbook that do you use that in a way to make your work at a later point, or does that
I think it all goes in, and without any particular sense of purpose, and then one day something of it will come out in how you can draw an expression. So all of my books are character based. They're all character based,
yeah.
and a massive part of that is being able to bring a character to life believably, even if it is a small cat like this and a bunch of lines, but there's something in the way Max here is stepping on that rock with his arms thrown out, and with big ideas about himself, but he's just a small little kitten, and I think it's in looking at the world and seeing how people are that you pick all that. Certainly for me, that I think that's where you pick all that stuff up. So
They're actually
but it's like my feeding ground, and that's a horrible way of putting it, but I I don't know. I'm constantly fascinated by life and trying to capture it. And you just never, like this old lady here sitting in a wheelchair. This was in Barcelona. I used to live in Barcelona a few years ago, and more recently I was visiting friends. And I was sitting in a park. It was springtime, and there were all these kids playing, and somebody wheeled her out, and she was just watching all these kids playing with such joy at seeing this sort of unrestrained play. And that had been her once upon a time. She had been 5 years old, and you can't, if you slow down and look at life, it gives you so many ideas for things you want to do and things you want to put in a book, and or just the sheer pleasure of it. It doesn't have to end in something. It's doing it for its own sake, and when you draw, it's this sort of form of expression that you don't necessarily understand what's happening when you're doing it, but man, I'm so ineloquent, but I just love it. I absolutely just love it, and I love it's my when I look at artists' sketchbooks, that's my favorite work of all their work. Is just I find there's an honesty in it. They're not trying to say too much. This is some stuff from my trip in Africa.
I tried
Um,
anything. Yeah.
so I'm just whizzing through, but yeah, this is like absolutely where it's at for me.
Give me a little hot take for a second on sort of the what do you see as the future in kidlit? I mean, obviously, like ignoring the AI component,
Really?
which, which is
How do
hard.
you ignore that?
Yeah,
Yeah, no, it's too big. Yeah. Go
but
on.
are there like things that you see that like for a while there was like a lot of meta books, you know, maybe about 5-10 years ago. There's a lot of movement now towards like making books that are fun for kids and not for the adults who read them.
And not for the adults who read them.
Well, the adults can enjoy them, but let's not make. There was like I forget who was that. It may have been Clausen and someone else, or somebody was talking about the idea of books needing to be just fun.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah. That could have been Matt Barnett, maybe.
Yeah, it's probably one of the two.
Yeah.
But that idea of like, do you see some sort of direction or movement in kidlit in general that you think maybe next like 5 years this is going to be the big thing?
Man, I have no idea, but I do think at the moment, I was talking with Chris Horton about that books being fun, and especially for me after doing 3 books I really, really believe in, and poured my heart into it's and we're trying to say stuff. There is a crisis in reading as well at the moment, with kids not being read to, and I think sometimes just making a funny book that's just really entertaining and a joy to share is a really wonderful thing, and that's what I've tried to do with Waffles and Julius, and I have had so much fun doing it. So for me personally, I can't say, and Waffles and Julius I think is a series for sure. I've got so many other stories of theirs I want to tell, and I think maybe the publishing industry is, I don't know if it ever really knows what it's doing. I think it's always sort of playing catch up in some ways, because it publishes so much and then something really unexpected takes off. So John Classen, for example, if you'd have put that stuff in front of any UK publisher 20 years ago, I doubt any of them would have picked it up. They'd have said, this is far too sophisticated, kids aren't going to get it, all that sort of stuff. And it's I love John Classen's work. I think he's fantastic. And there are so many ways to tell a story, and he tells these wonderful sort of Beckettian, slimmed down, brilliantly funny, very dry and visually stunning.
Oh, I don't like that sound. Silence. Hold on, let me look. Are you there, Ed? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, we're good. It just cut out for a second.
Oh, cool. Okay. That was saying low battery, so I think my phone can't charge enough.
Okay, well, I know it's late there too, so I don't want to. I mean,
well, look, I'll flick. Here's a sketchbook from Maine. I was in Maine at the end of a book tour a couple of years ago. I love drawing landscapes as well.
Where'd you go?
This was in a place called Deer Isle, where I was staying in a little cabin for a week. It's where I had the first idea for How to Be a Lion. So I was kayaking, painting landscapes, and having my first ideas for How to Be a Lion. So being in nature somewhere away from the studio is often a place that's a really good place for me to think about books, and just, before I'm ready to go and hit the desk or the drawing table.
Yeah.
What else have we got here? A few more watercolors from Buenos Aires.
I like that
Yeah,
you're going back.
man. I don't know where the publisher. I don't know what's going to happen in 5 years. I do think it's really hard to talk about it without talking about AI. I do think there is right now. I feel like publishers do want more accessible, funny books. And sorry, go on.
Real quick, I was going to say, in the UK, wasn't there some, or maybe it was the EU that put out something that was like an AI, a new law based around AI, and for some reason in my mind, it was in the UK. But
Well, no, there's certainly a lot of people campaigning against it, but no, the UK government is not. It's debating it in Parliament at the moment, and it's a struggle to get them to not be beholden to big tech at the moment. And I said that there was definitely something in the States, wasn't there, recently, where I think big tech made a legal win there. I haven't read on it because it's just too depressing. The EU is probably going to be our best bet in trying to fight against that.
in our case,
and all of that stuff is pretty scary, I have to say. I think it's terrifying. There was some really interesting research that just came out that showed people's brain activity after using ChatGPT to write stuff, or not. And man, it destroys your brain's ability. As you know, the more and more we use smartphones and all that sort of stuff, our attention span becomes limited, etc., etc., etc. But using ChatGPT to carry out tasks, it is the research has just come out, and it is absolutely devastating for the brain. So yeah.
I'm excited to find out, because I know Disney now, and I think it was Disney and someone else, I forget who it was, that came out sort of are now raising lawsuits finally.
Finally, how's it taken?
I don't know. I mean they're notorious for being litigious for copyright theft and things of the sort.
Yeah.
They themselves have taken stuff. I know that for a fact.
Yeah.
But I do think that they have the money and the power to fight and sway people more than just an individual in some sense. So I'm excited that sort of has sprung up recently, but I don't have a lot of faith that it's going to solve everything.
Man, I don't want to end on this depressing.
Oh yeah.
And you did try and steer me away from that.
Yeah.
But we have to fight it tooth and nail with everything we have, because it is just, it's amazing what it can do right now. To think what it will be able to do in a number of years is terrifying. And I just, in terms of costs and all that sort of stuff, I wouldn't be surprised if publishers aren't already, some publishers aren't already using it in some ways. And it's ridiculous what it can do, but that's all based on theft.
Yep.
It's all based on theft. And using AI to write something or to create a piece of art is not creating a piece of art. Creating a piece of art is a journey with an unknown destination, and it's a learning experience. AI is not that.
I must say, your like statements on it feel very like it's a journey, and then you said like the lines are dancing, and the terminology that you use is so good for a lot of this, that like it's the artist in you sort of springs out in some of those statements of showcasing your sentiment towards like how important art is as a as not only as a practice but as a commodity, like all sorts of things. And so like I really appreciate your language uh wrapping around all of this too. So
Oh. Well, yeah, thank you. I mean, it is a huge existential issue, isn't it? And I think there's a hell of a lot of people who are very, very worried about it, and don't see a lot of governmental support. And certainly, you know, you guys over in the States won't be getting much, I imagine, with the current things as they are.
yeah,
Um,
I mean honestly,
so,
bigger problems right now than uh
well, that's
so,
true. That what? Yeah, that's true. And you know, I also don't want to be on here without saying I wish there were more of us illustrators and artists and people in the creative community who are stepping up and using our voices, whether to a few or to many people, to say something about what's going on in the Middle East and
I was gonna
you know,
you have
the horrendous stuff that's been happening in Gaza. You know, I'll immediately get jumped on for saying that, and of course, free the hostages, of course. But this didn't all start on October the 7th, 23. You know, it's a 75-year history of persecution, and what's happening now is beyond belief. It's horrific. I've tried to use my platform on Instagram, however small it is, to raise awareness. And me and some other illustrators are currently, if you look for Raise, Rise, Reso on Instagram, if you look at my feed, you'll find us. We're selling. Sorry?
Not to mention that the risograph sale that supports.
That's it. Yeah. So we're selling risographs to support kids in horrendous, you know, who are basically starving to death in Gaza, and yeah, I would urge everyone to really follow someone like Motaz Aziz. If you're not seeing what's going on, I'm sure most of us must be seeing what's going on. I follow quite a lot of accounts from Gaza and just on a daily basis see horrendous stuff, and it has to be brought to an end, and for peace for all. But you know, the regime in Israel has done appalling things in Gaza, and I just think we all must use our voices to try and help bring it. You know, silence does not bring something like that to an end. However much people don't want to be political on their creative spaces, it's we have to, you know, if you care about it, we have to use our voices, I think.
Is there with what's the name of the thing again? The raise.
So let me find it. It's oh man,
I should have it on the tip of my tongue because we were looking at them last night, my wife and I, trying to decide which one we were going to get.
oh, what do you mean which one?
Well,
hey man, come on.
Yours and
I mean,
yeah.
really? I'm really disappointed. Oh god. No, I'm joking. Let's have a look. It is. I want to give you the so it's rise.raise.reso. So reso is spelled RISO. So rise RISE dot RAISE dot RISO. We're having a risograph There are 12 artists, and we're selling risograph prints. There's some beautiful prints, £25 each. That sale ends very, very soon, but we're going to continue to sell digital prints for £10 each. And anyone listening, if you could share, better still, if you could buy, all the money's going to 3 different organizations in Gaza who all work with kids. One's called Al Jawad, which is a school. One's called Gaza Little Lights, and the other is Grassroots Gaza. And yeah, they're all Palestinian-led initiatives that focus on supporting children and families in Gaza with direct aid. Al Jawad, and you can follow these places too. Al Jawad School for Displaced Children in the Gaza Strip is a tent where children in the camp can have meaningful daytime activities while receiving emotional support from a psychologist. They learn languages, maths, kindness. We taught essential skills such as hygiene to increase their survival chances in these times of diseases and epidemics. Gaza Little Lights, support for critical cases of malnutrition. This campaign provides long-term support for between 30 and 50 malnourished infants monthly in North and South Gaza. And Grassroots Gaza is a Palestinian-led initiative committed to supporting Gazan communities on the ground and those who fled into Egypt with direct mutual aid. At this moment, they are running vegetable distribution, water distribution, and bread distribution campaigns. So currently we've raised £3,000 for each of those, but we would love to raise more because there is so much need in Gaza at the moment, as I'm sure you all know. And these, if it's not us, follow these accounts. You can find them if you go to Rise, Raise, Reso, and you could donate either through us or directly to them. But it's a way of helping.
Well, the idea of artists taking more ownership over the power they have to change, whether it's this cause or it's another cause that's important to people. It's like it is an opportunity to make a difference. The amount of donating I think I've done since I've gotten into Kidlit has gone up so dramatically.
Yeah.
Part of it is just being around kids more often has made me more aware of sort of how important and it sounds silly, but how important kids are, and how important it is that we like cherish the ability for kids to be kids again. And thinking back, and I don't know if it's the same for you, but like the state that I was in when I was a kid, I didn't have to think about a lot of things.
Same here.
I feel horrible that all these kids have to go through these things and like live these atrocities.
Man, it's the worst thing I've ever seen. It's the worst thing that's happened in my lifetime. I feel. I mean, I know we're getting so much of it streamed to us, but there, I mean, so many horrendous images of kids who've lost all their limbs, plus their families, plus their home, plus the entirety of everything, and are completely and utterly traumatized. And this is like 2 million people who are traumatized now and on the brink of starvation, and they're still being bombed to smithereens. Aid is clearly not getting through. Any aid that gets through is also, they're channeling people into lines and shooting at them, throwing grenades into them. It's despicable. It's horrendous. It's unbelievable that the world is letting this happen. And what are we going to think in 5 years' time? How are we going to look back on this? Like, how are we going to say, oh yeah, I said nothing about it. I knew it was happening. I said nothing about it. And the people in, the British government at the moment is not condemning it. They condemned this guy at Glastonbury who got the crowd to chant something stupid. It was not the right thing to chant at all. But still, that's received more condemnation than this ongoing massacre, which is, there's no dispute that this is a massacre of the innocents. And it has been happening now for over a year and a half. And some of the figures that I've read in the Lancet, which is a very, very well respected medical journal, suggest that there could be some massive underreporting of deaths, and the death toll could be anywhere as high as 350,000. Which is staggering, absolutely staggering. But
again, if people want to go get these prints, they can go to your Instagram feed, and I believe it's one of the pinned posts.
It's certainly a post, but there's also, they can go to the shop. If they go to my Instagram feed, they'll find my post about it, and then go to the Rise Raise Rezo post, and you will find the way to go to the shop. So the shop is riseraiserezo.bigcartel.com/about, and there you will find, oh actually no, just .com. If you go /about, you'll find something about the organizations we're supporting. But the shop is at riseraiserezo .bigcartel.com. So
but outside
that sounds like a good place to end. So I didn't expect to end there, but yeah.
Again,
3 hours later, I'm tuning out.
Here, I'm gonna give me 1 second. I'll switch to my other or to my camera so I can face to face with you as we end here. I'm trying to finish up little odds and ends details. Ooh, no, that's crooked. There we go. Oh no, the circle of death. Okay, so if that is it for Ed, I think we ended on a lovely, poignant element about sort of being an artist and the power that we have to make a difference in the world that's around us. Sorry, I'm still painting. I realize I want to get an edge before it dries. And no matter what your views are on any given topic, an artist has the opportunity to say and do things that potentially or to get our word out there in a way that maybe other folks in the world can't, just because we have such an impact with visual imagery. So I will say thank you to Ed. I assume that he is done for the evening, not hopping back on. But if you can, go out there and get Ed's books. Everything from Max the Brave, Max and Bird, and The Artist, which are the ones that I have on hand here. But there's lots of them that are out there that I would suggest, if you can, try to go get. I'm going to keep working here. Hopefully my screen is blurry again, which is really frustrating to me. Ed, don't worry about it. I will, if your phone is too hot, we can just end it there. And I will say again, thank you for joining. And I really appreciate you taking the time to chat with us. And I'll be in touch afterwards, but give your phone a rest. Let it cool down. You're going to make it angry. And so I'm going to continue working here. What I'll do is I'll go into finish my downshoot. And hopefully my feed gets less blurry. If it doesn't here in a second, I may do a third part, which is always frustrating to have to do it that many times. Maybe it's best to do that anyways and just get it up and going, and that way it won't be blurry. It's just been a blurry mess today. So anyways, so here's what I'll do. I will stop for a hot second. I will hop back on in a matter of about 2 minutes. I will post this as part 3 or part 2, and I will do a part 3, and I will finish this up. I probably have about another half an hour, maybe max, working on this. And then I got to get to a family cabin where we're going to go watch some fireworks or at least I'm gonna have dinner with folks. I'm not a big fireworks person. Don't tell my wife, but it's true. Anyways, I will be back. Oh, okay. Ed's gonna hop back on. Here's what I'll do. I will save this part, and then Ed, I will come back and have you in. Give me 1 second. Let me just get my feed up. Let's hope that it's not blurry. Yeah, there we go. Okay, part 3, we're live. So I'm gonna see if I can get Ed back in for just a little send off, a little hooray at the end, and see if we can send him off in style instead of just the phone burning out on him. There we go. So while wait, I'm painting in the background while we wait. See if he jumps back on. If he doesn't, it's okay. There's no pressure. So I'll send this down. All right, I'm gonna flip the other way, camera down, so you can see what I'm working on. So this is the sketch that I had, and this is the piece that I'm working on. And so again, if Ed jumps in, great. If he doesn't, that's okay too. Not that I wouldn't like to send him off in style, but I want to make sure that he doesn't feel the pressure to jump back on. In the meantime, for those that are watching, feel free to ask me any questions that you have. I'm happy to answer to the best of my ability. What I'm trying to do is get the tone in that's sort of the equivalent of the elephant up here, that feels sort of similar and has some similar texture to it. In said characters that are on here, and what I might do is this one. They need to be. I'll try to clean these up a little bit, but it gives you a sense of sort of where these drivers are. So give one of these stones a little tone that's a little different from the next, and then I might come over here and do the same thing where like that one, and then maybe one other one down here as that sort of yellowy touch, just to add some variety to it. Okay, Ed's back. Hold on 1 second. Let me, I'll do this then. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, let me switch camera. Hello! Okay, Ed should be back in 1 second. All right.
Okay. My God. Sorry about all of that.
Your phone is not happy tonight.
My phone is not enjoying itself. I don't know why. Well, I've had a lovely time, but yeah, no, my phone's. I don't know. It's never happened before, but yeah.
No worries. I want to say thank you for joining me. I know that you are a superstar in my eyes and a lot of people's eyes, and it was an honor to spend your evening, my afternoon, chatting and getting to know you. And again, I really must say I appreciate your sentiment on art and life, and like the positivity of just sort of accepting the the artist way, I guess is a good way to put it. Like the reality of being an artist, not getting caught up in sort of the horror show that it can be sometimes. So I really do appreciate it.
Oh man, well, it's been a real pleasure getting to know you, and I hope I haven't droned on too much.
No,
And you just embarrassed me with your beautiful painting.
oh, thanks.
And man, it's been a privilege to watch you at work, and felt miserably at doing the same thing. But anyway, it's been nice talking. I think I've done more talking than drawing, more gabbing.
Watching you work and talk and whatnot has been a pleasure. And the only thing I would ask that I asked everybody is if you end up posting anything from it, tag me in it so it doesn't slip by me of some sort. And I'll post this later and do the same for you. I'll tag you so you can see sort of the finish, because it doesn't show up perfectly detail wise on these Instagram feeds. So.
Okay. I'll repost anything you put me in. Okay. So just do all of that, and I will repost it all, and of course. So yeah, no, a real pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so much. Can't wait to see the finished result of your beautiful work. And all I can do is apologize at how terrible my drawings were. But
your drawings were lovely.
Seriously, probably, and I don't know how many of these interviews you've done, but I guarantee mine were the worst of them all. But
I won't name the worst of the worst, but we've done over 150 of these.
Have you really?
You are nowhere near the bottom.
Okay. Okay, well, listen, a great pleasure. I should have thought more about what I was going to draw, but it's all right. Watching you paint has really sort of made me think, oh yeah, man, I should do some more, get the paint out a little bit more than I do, rather than just stick with the line. But yeah,
I will say anyway. the thing I got out of it watching you is sort of go through your history, like your catalog of things, like going back and looking, and I'm like, oh man, I should really pull out some stuff that's like buried deep in the drawers and look at it. I haven't in a while, and like seeing you like pull out in the history was great. So anyways, lovely time spent with you, and you go get some rest and let your phone rest for the night.
Cool. Well, a real pleasure, and yeah.
Okay.
Look forward to
have a good one
again. Okay. Bye. Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, folks. So I'm gonna switch back down again. Oh, that's my ceiling. Hello. All right. Hello, folks. It said I was live for the last like 15 minutes, maybe less. Even though I wasn't. It was just a shot of my ceiling. And I don't know what was going on. So hopefully this works. If you can hear me right now, give me a thumbs up. Or say yes in the comments. If you can hear me and see the not me, but the artwork, give me a thumbs up or say yes in the comments. Assuming that I get that, then I'm a good to go. I can continue working on this. I'm just hoping. Oh, okay. Thank you. Lorraine.rocha.art or Letitia B Studio? Letitia B Studio. Thank you for replying back. I couldn't see enough to be able to tell what was going on. I sat there talking for a while and was doing little odds and ends and had no idea whether people were seeing it or not. And so now I know. So much appreciated. All right, so here's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to fill all these little odds and ends in. Make some of these feel a little more beloved. So let me put this up there again. If you have questions, throw them in the comments, and I'm happy to answer where I can. I will try my best to get answers out for you. Make these cars go blub, blub, blub. They have a little exhaust that comes out. What I need to do is I need to draw in all these little bits of pink grass. This grass is allowed to be pink. No one can tell me otherwise. This is going to take some time though. But again, ask questions. Throw it in the chat. What do you want to know about? It may just be me watching right now. Maybe me talking to me. Hopefully not, but it might be. Bring that up under those eyes a little bit more. Okay, here we go. Can you tell us about your process? So this is Lorraine Rocha Art saying, can you tell us about your process? I see pencils, acrylic, pan, pastels. Yeah, you see that stuff up there. Not all of it gets used. So I'm happy to. So for the most part, I'm not saying this that you need to do this, but if you want to, you can always go back and watch part ones and any other the videos or reels on my feed, and you can see sort of the process from the beginning. But the general gist of what I do, in fact, this is a good time to probably give my hand a rest and talk a little bit about this. But so I use acrylic wash primarily. The only other colors that I use that are not acrylic wash are just white and black. So I use primarily Holbein now. I was using Liquitex for a long time. Liquitex acrylic gouache, which is fine and it's cheaper, honestly, but Holbein, now I realize you can get these big 40 milliliter or 1.35 ounces tubes, which makes it a whole lot more cost effective. But also the color palette that they have for it is a little bit more interesting, and so I've been sort of leaning on those. And then I introduced just white and black, titanium white and Mars black regular acrylic into the mix. So like this piece here is a combo of titanium white, Mars black, there's a little bit of lilac in that, pale aqua, cerulean blue, tiny little bit of luminous lemon, tiny touch of Juan Brilliant, yellow ochre, and a little bit of primary magenta, and that's the palette that this is basically coming from. And so I use those. I paint on tracing paper, which you can see lying around. So I have swatches, like as an example here, like this probably was, this is maybe that car down there. Yes, it is. You can see it's a perfect match right there. That's the cut that I made for that little car that's poking its edge in. This, I think, was, what did I use that for? Was it I think it may have been some of the car over here. And so I just take trace, I paint on it, get swatches, little variation in it. That's where you see the variation showing up. And then I cut those out, glue them down with a glue stick. I use plain old Elmer's glue, washable glue stick. I use not one of those purple ones where it dries clear, but it starts out purple. I like the white ones just because the color, I don't want to see purple on my image at all times. Just like some people will use, when they're painting, they'll use artist tape and they'll use blue artist tape. I tend to avoid using this for like masking off of the edges on a piece, because then you start painting to the blue. You always look at the blue and it affects your colors. Same thing with having the purple Elmer's glue. I try to avoid using that. I use that blue artist tape for other things, but not necessarily to tape off a piece. Once I get that down, then I go back and do some, either just painting on top or use Posca markers to add in little details along the way, and then come back with colored pencil and add details with the colored pencil in the end to jazz up said drawing. And so with the combination of those, you end up with what you see in front of you right now. So I'm going to be getting close to being done with this soon here, and hopefully not causing a huge delay for the family. Basically, I need to do this, and I need to do a couple of little touches here and there, but pretty minor little amount of details that I need to do left. So I just need to get some moments that kind of imply. I hope that was helpful. I hope that made sense. If you have questions about that process or materials, I'm happy to share more as we go along. The pan pastels I use sometimes. I just didn't use it on this one in particular. So that's why I didn't bring that one up. I'm almost done. With this pink grass here, I am going to use, let's see, a couple of these other little tones that I have here to add some variation. And then I want, it's that one and this one. I'm trying to get the right colors here to do what I want to do. I need some, there we go. Some colors just to add some variety into some of these vehicles here. So they're not so perfect in their coloring. I don't want them to read too flat is basically what it boils down to. And so getting some of these like lighter tones. In fact, I'm going to go over here and look at a couple of the little colors that I have that I might, some little bits of pink. Can show up in some of the cars. What was the other color? Oh, this guy. Plaque there. Now, why is this elephant running around on a roundabout or a, what do they call it, a rotary or a circle, depending on where you're from? It's probably called one of those things. I haven't the slightest. It just seemed like it would be fun. Is there any other little touches I want to do? I might come back in with this Warm Brilliant. Just little tiny touches of it. Get like the nose of the elephant to stand out a little bit, maybe a little touch on the ears, little streaks on some of the cars that need it. And let's see, one other little touch there. And come grab this yellow here, and I'm almost done. That's the family upstairs yelling at me. My family. They're not actually yelling at me, but. Okay, and then there was one other thing. I was going to do this. I was going to put. I'm almost done.
Oh, are you working? Can I get B-roll?
What?
Is there any way to
Yeah, I'm still
Okay.
still doing final touches.
Can I just add this to? Can
You add what?
add this to the hook?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, that'll solve all my problems.
Yep, just put it on the hook, and you're good. If it had a hook internally, then that's a different story, bud. But no one needs to really know what we're talking about.
So you got up before you finished it?
But. What? Yes, he was. His phone kept going kaput.
But I mean, like, you didn't stay on.
I'm on right now.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
There was an issue where I went on, and for some reason it
there's
said
3 parts?
this will be part 4.
Oh, jeez.
It paused the feed for some reason, and I don't know why. It was just showing the ceiling. And so for whatever reason, this is part 4.
Oh, that's nice. I guess I gotta make a couple more thumbnail images. Made a 1 and 2.
Like my little statue.
Yeah, it's really cute.
He's pointing off in the distance. I don't know at what, but he is. You like how the cars are turning? They're actually turning.
Yeah, they're curved, yeah.
For whatever reason.
It's good. I like it.
Let's see. Oh, no, I didn't get this one either. I'm just trying to get some shadows underneath things to make them feel a little bit more real, you know?
Yeah. Do you feel real?
No.
Let's talk about it.
Little eyebrows. There's some little hairier eyebrows.
Hairy lines.
Oh, and then I wanted to do this.
So I don't have notes for part 3 and 4.
That's fine. That, and I want to do. Just put little pupils on the statue itself. Okay, I think we are roundabout. Teacher Marin is called a roundabout. What do we call? We call them roundabouts here.
I mean, I grew up learning rotary.
Rotary. Ugh. I think I called them circles when I was younger, but then it became roundabouts.
Circle? I guess. Yeah, I've seen that.
I don't like rotary. It sounds too like mechanical or something. Go around the rotary. Thank you, Teacher Marin. Let's Let's see, is there any other little things I want to do? Maybe a little hint of an exhaust pipe there, and one here, and one here. I don't think we'd see any of the other ones, but zoom, zoom, zoom. Oh, that needs one little thing too. This needs some lines that imply I do not like that line. It was too thick and meaty. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do this line over so it feels a little better. Do like this. This one will have a little antenna there, antenna there. Antennas are fun. That's a sports car right here. That's zipping around the corner. And then go. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I need to do. That may be it, folks. That may be the gist of it. Okay, let me put this on a lovely little blackboard so you can see what it actually looks like. Let me just clean up my space. Get all these pencils back where they go. That one does not go there. These do. I'm trying to remember which colors go in what situation. I think these all can go there. Give me a second here. Black can go in there too. I don't know why that was separated out. Get my Poscas out of the way. Get this up and out of the way. My scissors, my skizzers out of the way. Okay, we're almost time to show it off, and then we'll be done. Oh, am I blurry again? Come on, screen. What is going on here today? Why is technology fighting against me? Tell me it comes back and is clear. Is it clear again? Let's hope so. Okay. Look blurry on this one. Just for a minute, it did. As long as it doesn't look blurry now, then I'm good. So, let me give you old dustaroo here. That's an official term. And then I will sort of get in tighter. There we go. So, everybody, this is part 4. It should never have to go to a part 4. But this is part 4 of my elephant in the roundabout. The whole goal, honestly, was to draw a car that shape. But I'm happy with my elephant. I think this car, that elephant, I like this car a lot. I like that car a lot. These I don't really care about, but this is my little rotary. I like these two. Like this strip right there. Boom. That's the strip I like. Otherwise, you all have a lovely week. Next week, Lauren, who do we have on next week? We have on Dapo Adolia. I think. Adola? Daps Draws is his Instagram handle. I'm super excited to chat with him. He seems super interesting. So next week we will dive into that. Thursday at 2 p.m. Hopefully we don't have as many technical issues. Otherwise, y'all have a lovely week, and I will see you on Thursday. Bye.